Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. Happy Balls Wednesday to you and yours. Yeah. Feels good to be on. ESPNTallahassee.com, the website where you can listen live via the streaming, free always. Don't miss anything. But if you do, remember this. It will be posted upon the conclusion of the show that is. And it will be done with limited commercial interruption. That, too, is a good thing. Thanks to our great sponsor, SVN, Carlton Dean, carltondean.com, to find out more about how to make money in commercial real estate. Email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. You can find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. WTSM app works for both Android and iPhone, so you're good to go there. Also can find archived audio on that app. So lots of ways, and that includes now these days YouTube as well. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. ESPN Tallahassee, the feed on YouTube. If you're watching, we appreciate that. Thanks. If you want to go back and catch up and watch later, you can do that too. But now all the more ways to catch the show and to remain up to date. Good win last night. I disagree with Lee Gordon there. It was certainly not a must-win game for Florida State. Those must-win games are when you're on the verge of not making the postseason, for example, and you have to win games. But it's a game that you win and you feel good about because really you haven't beaten anybody who's any good. And you just beat somebody last night who is good. 7-6, dramatic fashion, the whole deal. It's nice to get a win against a good team. But really it won't mean much if you can't have this turn into something of a stretch where you play real good baseball and win quite a few of these games against good teams.
Well, certainly after the Jacksonville comeback and walk-off, I thought that would be a point at which, because he comes on the heels of having the early morning practice and the come-to-Jesus meeting of sorts, I thought that would be the launching point. Well, no, not if you go 0-4 in a week,
Right.
And you lose the way you lose to North Carolina in a couple of those games where you have 11 errors in 2 days. So, yeah. You would like to think it's a launching off point, but I've learned my lesson from earlier. So let's continue to see, hopefully, some consistency out of the lineup because that's what we take out of this one. It's not for Carp's performance. Carp's performance is take it or leave it. But the offense was there. Jackson Luke especially was there, and he was the hero last night. It was only fitting that he finished the night off.
Yeah, and this is, again, a game in which they finally have their starting lineup the way that they envision it before the season. So let's see if they do take off. I don't know. I'm not willing to say that a win last night does anything other than make you feel a little bit better for a day. Let's find out if they can string things together. It is interesting that Walls comes back after the 2-game suspension and is, in some ways, a bit of a catalyst for this. He makes a great defensive play up the middle, and he's got incredible range. So that's something that they knew they had in him. Obviously, he comes around to score as well. So it's nice to see that he's back out there and contributing, and hopefully what you end up having is a guy that desperately needs to turn it around and does. Who knows what they worked out behind the scenes. I thought it was an interesting quote. Martin said about Walls that he ignited us. Now, a coach might say this after a player's been in the doghouse and suspended and really contributes anything and gives you a reason to praise him. Okay, well, that's fine. I don't care about that. But what I do care about, and I thought it was interesting, is he said that, that we've all got to get better. We all got to do better. I'm paraphrasing now, but it's something to the effect of we all do. And he was talking about himself, too. That was interesting to me. Coach was. We've got to be better. We all do. And he's right. He's not just talking about Taylor Walls. He's talking about, I think, that staff. I think he's talking about that team. Obviously, it's easy to point to Walls, who entered the game hitting .229 with 3 bombs and 20 RBIs and was obviously struggling mightily compared to what we expected out of him and based on his performance from a year ago, what is reasonable to expect out of him. But I think it's interesting because sometimes you hope it goes that way. Whenever you roll your eyes at players-only meetings and things like that, and or suspensions and a coach-player blow-up in the dugout or something like that, it can go one of two ways. You hope it's a catalyst for a bonding moment, something that brings them together, something that allows them to get back on the same page, see eye to eye, kind of unearth some of the festering and resentment and problems that might be happening between a player against another player or a coach or whatever it might be. These things happen. Closely knit groups in the same clubhouse every day, all that stuff. It can happen. It can fester. And if you don't get it resolved, it can really be an ugly scene, and it can affect play, especially in college, especially with kids. And they're not pros, and so that can happen. I hope that that's what this is the beginning of, a streak where the guys play to their ability. I don't know what that will mean long term. None of us do. But it will mean more consistent play. It will mean that they'll win more games against good teams because they've got good players.
I think that's part of it is you have to look at the schedule. And if you're Coach Martin or anybody on that staff, you say, well, if this isn't cutting it now, the tests are only going to get more difficult. And they're relentless because this conference has a lot of good pitching. This conference has a lot of good teams. This division in particular does within the ACC. So, yeah, if Mike Martin looks within and says we're all not getting it done, well, he's right, and we all know that. It's nice to hear that, though, because there are times at which, in any sport, a coach could be tone deaf to what's actually happening. And Jimbo Fisher, after NC State in 2012, execution. That's the wrong thing to say on that day. Even if you know and you review film that we've had a game plan that we've installed and they don't carry out the game plan, you just can't do that.
Not with college kids.
You cannot be tone deaf in that manner. So that Mike Martin is willing to say that, especially after the way things went over the weekend with Taylor. And it's not Mike Martin's fault, given the way that we understand things went down. You have no choice but to suspend your star shortstop in that moment. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's good to hear that everybody is trying to at least take their portion of the blame and move forward. It's one win over Gulf Coast. We'll see in a couple weeks if it actually meant something.
Accountability is a big damn deal, man. You can't lead when you're not accountable, and it goes both ways. It goes for players and coaches alike.
Respect goes both ways,
that's
yes.
Absolutely true. By the way, as for today, the Florida Gulf Coast game, Florida State's game against Florida Gulf Coast, I should say, scheduled for a 4 o'clock start. And so Will Ziershow is going to get the start on the mound for Florida State, and we'll see how that goes, and we'll see if they get to play it. Again, we keep hearing about the imminent threat of nasty, nasty weather coming our way. Speaking of nasty weather, the other story this week is, of course, the Masters. And in a weird way, it's Masters week, as they always say, but it really begins in earnest, for as far as we're paying attention, this afternoon with the par 3 contest, of which they've had to stop. And nasty weather coming in. In the 5 o'clock hour, Trey Jones will join us. He is the head golf coach at Florida State University. Of course, Daniel Berger and Brooks Koepka are playing in this tournament. Both are guys that you would expect to see somewhere in that top 25 come Sunday, maybe with a chance to make things interesting. The point would be, we're going to hear from him, and he's walked with his guys between the ropes. He's been out there before in this tournament. He's seen them hit pressure-filled shots. Jonas Blix, lest we forget, finished second in this tournament. And Trey was right there with him. So I'll be interested to hear from him and talk about what this inclement weather is going to do, because it may not mean a whole heck of a lot today. Players weren't going to be doing all that much outside of this morning today, other than those that were competing in the par 3. For the most part, players weren't going to be out there this afternoon. They would have gotten their practice in earlier today. And so a lot of them did. If you got up early this morning and you had the Golf Channel on, you had a chance to see that. A lot of the guys were out there. You saw Phil out there. Jordan was out there. All the big names. They got their work in. But what will affect them is if tomorrow we're seeing 20 to 25 mile per hour winds, and on those greens with the ball oscillating, there may be stretches where it's an unplayable course, and that's devastating to those of us that look at this as almost a holiday week with the start of baseball and then the Masters.
Yeah, as far as the weather goes, I got family up in Atlanta, and they're telling me that it's much like growing up in Tampa Bay, where everything seems fine, and then out of nowhere, these winds and these storms, they just ravage everything out there. And that's what they're dealing with on Monday at Augusta, and that's certainly what they're dealing with today at Augusta. What I wonder is, for somebody like a John Rahm, who is a star young player, 22 years old, who comes over from Spain, plays at Arizona State, I can't imagine he's played a whole lot at Augusta in his life. So for him, this week is really critical in order to get the work in that he needs. And I wonder what that does to a player like him, or somebody who's even in his 30s or 40s making his first start at Augusta. For the veterans, it is going to be what it's going to be. No big deal. I just wonder as well, when it comes to superintendents and what exactly their plan is for the course, not just about where they're going to place these pins tomorrow
Although
and
that's
Friday.
a big one. That's a big one.
But how are they going to slow down the greens? Because Augusta's drainage system is second to none. They get the greens back up to speed. We've seen it in years past. It's not unusual for Augusta to have a weather delay, for the Masters to have a weather delay on a Thursday or Friday. That happens all the time. What we are also used to seeing is that the greens come back to speed. Even if the fairways and the rough are sluggish, the greens are like that. So what do you do? Because if the winds are blowing that fast, can you put the pins in a place where the ball is going to be protected from the wind? And if not, how much can you reasonably play? Because it's not like the winds are going to die down tomorrow afternoon and pick back up Friday morning. It's supposed to be consistently in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range for 48 hours.
Well, if that happens, they got real problems because the ball will not sit on those greens as fast as they run with 20-mile-per-hour winds. Then you won't be able to play, and they won't make a mockery of it. You can't do that to the players. It's hard enough as it is, and it's the game's most prestigious event, arguably. And so they won't do that, and then we'll all kind of lose out in that sense because it becomes a different-looking tournament, and it's played differently when you got to cram it all in. And because the weekend's supposed to be pretty nice, I'm hearing. So
it's pristine, yeah.
So you're going to be all right on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll see. But Trey Jones will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll get his thoughts on what that was like out there with some of his players in the past. Koepka this week, Daniel Berger this week, their preparations for this event. Love the Masters. And there are great storylines throughout. Even without Tiger Woods, of course, there are great storylines.
And for the casual golf fan who says, all right, this is too much in the weeds, guys, think British Open meets Masters. That is going to be tomorrow and Friday with the wind conditions.
Yeah, if we're unlucky.
And temperature, too.
Yeah, if we're unlucky. Yeah, that's you don't like it. You hate it. What to think about what we're going to see this Saturday for the spring game? And what to do about that game, because I'll be honest with you, it is, earlier in the week we were talking about how there's just no real pizzazz surrounding that game, and it's because of the way spring practice has played out. You could point to any number of things. You could point to maybe, as some in the media have pointed out, a lack of access, so no real storylines could be developed because nobody's really out there to see anything, and if you are, you're watching them go through stretches and perhaps special teams, but not really seeing anything else. And then the other part of that is, of course, we had a stop-start nature to it. We started spring practice, then you had spring break, then they came back. So that's been kind of a disjointed deal. And then from there, so many injuries at one time. There were 20 different guys that didn't dress and a lot of key players, including starters, that were missing serious time. Generally speaking, I don't get as enthused about the spring game as a lot in our fan base does. I use it as a means by which to research and figure out what guys are and what they look like and who has the body type to be able to maybe play early as a freshman. We're always looking at that. I use it to see if Jimbo's implementing some things within the offense in a different way. Perhaps utilizing a certain skill set or segment that maybe he's got an abundance of riches in or something like that to kind of shape the way he's going to call plays. I do all of that because this is our job and it's fun to do, but generally speaking, the spring game is kind of a disappointment to me because it isn't a real game, and you can't learn as much as you're anticipating to learn every year. But this year seems especially dead, and yet this morning my attention shifted to, hey, the spring game's this weekend, and I'm kind of excited to see DeAndre Francois throw the football. It's been a little while. And I do like what I'm hearing about the tight ends. And, of course, we already know what they are in terms of talent, but perhaps Jimbo using that talent differently this year, changing up some in the offense. And I do want to see these young offensive linemen, especially a couple of guys that may end up having to start that are going to be out there Saturday. So we'll talk some about the spring game, what we want to see from that and what we can get out of a game with so many guys missing said game.
Yeah, I thought more about it, too, after we signed off yesterday, just because it really, I don't think we were overstating how just lax the spring has been and the lack of buzz that there is. Just because you replay the show in your mind, and I do, too, and listen back.
On the way
and
home,
man,
go back and listen, yeah.
Sounds like we're killing the program, but really there's not much there, and just to think objectively about it. In the springs that Jimbo Fisher has been here, and there's a lot of them now since 2010, there was either a new coach that came in. We've had coordinator changes a couple of times. Obviously, Stoops to Pruitt to Kelly. So there's always something to consider there and think about the new implementation of what it is we're doing. We've had quarterback battles, and that's always going to be a sexy
topic.
Well,
a huge story every time.
The Coker-Winston Trickett battle, or, obviously after Ponder goes and everybody wants to see what E.J. Manuel is going to be. So it's like it's his time. And then last year you had Francois and Malik Henry, who was going to be the long-term solution, and obviously he's not here any longer. And then the spring game before that, you had DeAndre Johnson, who lit it up. And everybody said, well, okay, it looks like they got a freshman here, and he was since dismissed. You don't have any of those things. You don't have those ingredients here.
No, you don't at all.
The thing that you have is you're hanging your hat on, I want to see Cam Akers play, or...
But you know what? I'll say this, a lot. I want to see Cam Akers play a lot.
But that's not enough to carry the day, is it? That's my point.
Not enough to talk for 3 hours about it. But I will say, and listen, I don't think I did go back and listen because obviously we check our inbox and we check the Twitter feeds and we get response. We go out in the community. No, I think it can be misrepresented. It could be in a weird way. People hear what they want to hear. I've learned that over the years. I don't think we're killing the program at all. I think we're speaking honest about a spring that's been pretty dead. I will tell you this. You say it's been lax. I know what you mean by that comment. Lax in terms of coverage and storylines to engage in.
No, they're working hard over there. Don't get me wrong.
No. That's not even what I was going to say you were implying. They're, all, of course, working hard. Jimbo's not lax. If you want to know what we're hearing, he's intense. He's focused, he's frustrated, and he is going to work, and they are grinding. I mean, this is about getting better. And for him, this is, in his mind, obviously, a group that is immensely talented, but needs to find that edge, needs to get tougher. And when Jimbo's frustrated by any element of something in his program, it turns him into a not-so-fun guy to be around. That's all coaches, by the way. That's not a knock on Jimbo. Don't take that and run with it. That's all coaches when they're frustrated by an aspect or a player or they feel a certain pressure. So, to me, I think he knows he's got a good group. I think he knows he's got a talented group, but he knows it's a group that's got to work, that's got to get better, and it's a group that probably needs 4 or 5 of the younger guys to step in and have an impact. So if you're coaching that, if you know, okay, I got this, my quarterback's fine, I know that. I've got a real talent in Akers, but I also have Jacques Patrick and Amir Rasul, and I've got other guys I can trust at that position. I got tight ends for days. I feel good about that situation. And I've got a few guys that I think will emerge at wide receiver. My offensive line, got to get these guys ready to play, and I may need a couple of these young guys to really step it up. So he's going to put a lot of focus on them. He's going to look at that defense that has talent across the board, and he's going to say, you know what, we were talented last year too, but we didn't come out the gates that way. That can't happen again. So I think what you have right now is an uber-focused head coach who's on that edge, So that might result in something interesting come Saturday in the way that they play. I hope so. It's an intensity that's been lacking in the coverage, but not perhaps in the way that he views spring practice and what can be gained from this game. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Meet former FSU players and enjoy live music from the band Houston D's. It's free and a fun way to kick off the Noles 2017 season. Invite your friends and join us at the Tallahassee Quarterback Club's Spring Tailgate event, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., right near the entrance of Dick Hauser Stadium. See you there.
Milwaukee specials are heating up at Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. M18 Fuel, 2-tool combo kit, $100 trade-in, plus free brushless Sawzall. Hurry up while supplies last. This great deal ends soon. $100 off most Milwaukee M18 Fuel kits. M18 Fuel, upgrade, outwork, outlast. Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, the largest Milwaukee selection in the area. Big store pricing with local service. 2 locations to choose from, 1110 Stuckey Avenue and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays at 8 a.m. until noon. Call them at 580-1200 or online at ctf.nu.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. That's 800-344-2066.
Spring cleaning should start in your laundry room because during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot, you can save up to 35% on appliances like the Samsung high-efficiency top-load washer and electric dryer, now just $528 each. Extra large capacity washing and steam drying save you time, and Spring Black Friday will save you over $540 when you buy the pair. Nobody beats our prices, guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. Gas dryer extra. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples Guide. This year I'm preparing my own taxes.
Good for you.
Yep, I'm going to be accountable.
Right. Well, Staples can help with storage and filing supplies, plus software like QuickBooks and TurboTax.
Go on. You have my interest.
And now get TurboTax for up to $10 off at Staples.
Up to $10 off TurboTax? That'll pay handsome returns.
Right.
Thanks, Staples Guy. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
The tax deadline is almost here. Hurry into Staples for up to $10 off TurboTax. Staples. Make more happen. In-store only. Ends 4/15/17.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Don't miss the annual Outdoor Power Sale at Ace, our biggest outdoor power sale of the season. Save big on mowers, blowers, trimmers, chainsaws, and more from the best brands like Craftsman and Toro, all under one roof. And as always, the help is free. Hurry into your local Ace now for huge savings during our biggest outdoor power sale of the year. Offers valid on select products through April 17th at participating stores. Includes instant savings offers for Ace Rewards members. See store for details.
It's the final days of Mattress Firm's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you've ever wanted a Tempur-Pedic or Sealy, it's your last chance to save up to 70% off. Plus, take up to $2,000 off floor models. We're liquidating every Tempur-Pedic and Sealy in stock to make room for the next generation of innovative sleep products. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Only at your local Mattress Firm while supplies last. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/circulars. Product offer and prices may vary in Hawaii.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show. On 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. I'll get back to the Jimbo Fisher / spring game commentary momentarily. First, we have a hashtag a-hole. At Jay Cameron Show. I catch the live feed once a week. Do not deny you've been practicing for the camera in front of the mirror at home. Hashtag a-hole.
Hashtag a-hole.
Well, I'd be quick to tell you that that's the case if it were, but it's not. I practice here in front of the camera.
Yeah, but even still, you do video work, so, in your other kind of stuff,
That's
side
true.
projects.
Yeah, no, I'm...
You're a multimedia guy.
I was going to say, I'm kind of made for this, Mario. I mean, this is, when you got this face right this.
But that's a compliment, though, isn't it? That he said, clearly you've been practicing.
No, I just think that he'd forgotten the skill set was pretty broad. And now he's watching. He's like, man, it's like he's a TV host. It is like that.
Every once in a while, the camera makes its way over on this side of the glass for a warm smile.
That's right.
Somehow very comforting.
Well, we play off each other in that way.
Yeah.
Isn't
that great?
Mm-hmm. Jeff, email. Hey, now. So you're telling me Micromanager Jimbo is back. Are we sure we like that? Last I remember of that, Last I remember of that Jimbo Fisher, it was 2012. Mark T makes his return. Thank you for listening, Mark, in Panama City. He writes, coming down from a wine bender is easier with you and Tom on the WTSM app. YouTube scares me, though. Okay. I like micromanager Jimbo. I don't know if people that have to interact with him on a daily basis like micromanager Jimbo, but I do, because he's a really good football coach who knows an awful lot about every aspect of the game, and when he's involved, it keeps everybody on edge, and you can be sure that things aren't getting overlooked. Now, ideally, you want a staff that you don't have to be that guy all the time. You remember what that Jimbo Fisher looked like. Exhausted. He was worn down by life, wired, beaten. He looked like a guy that could really use a nap.
Even though he didn't have
the time.
Even though he didn't have the shakes, it looked like he had the shakes.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, you can understand it, though. You know, all aspects of the program he needed to be and wanted to be a part of. And you want opportunities to delegate. You want to be able to trust people implicitly, especially since Florida State is so competitive with their salaries. You've got coaches that ideally are of the upper echelon, and that's what you're paying them anyhow. And so you expect them to be that. Listen, it's interesting. That's been a weird dynamic. And that's led to some of the conversation we've had so far this offseason, where when I speculate about the way people view him changing after this year, good or bad, it has a lot to do with what happened last year and what can't happen this year. Listen, I'm not telling you they're going to be bad. There's just been a real lack of zeal, of enthusiasm around the program lately, and I don't know if that's just because there aren't a lot of storylines, as you were saying, for this spring. But I can tell you that for all the people that want to have the conversation about what we think this program is going to look like this year, next year, the year after, and where your assessment differs from mine or whatever that might be, one thing seems to be universally agreed upon by Florida State fans, and that is that they likely needed to make changes on the defensive side of the ball. Even people that are absolutely gung-ho about the upcoming season and really believe that we're going to see them return to playoff caliber, felt like, we saw enough evidence last year to suggest maybe some changes needed to be made on the defensive side with the coaching staff, and that didn't happen. They stood pat, and Jimbo believes in that. He likes the consistency. He's always talking about consistency that comes with that. And when you make that decision as a head coach, when you decide that, hey, look, no, I'm good. I'm going to stand pat. I think my coaches are fine. Maybe I'm going to change some other things. Well, that intensifies the pressure on you. That just stands to reason. When you stand by your guys, the same guys that a lot of people are critical of, then obviously you have to prove that that was the prudent decision. And you do that in the game of football anyhow, with wins. In other businesses, it's judged differently. And certainly you do it with the way that you play the game. So that'll be interesting to see. Are they appreciably better on defense this year? Because Lord knows personnel is not the problem. They got personnel.
Why don't we talk about this kind of function mostly in pro sports with the general manager role, where, we finished the season the way we did on defense, up to standard, up to what we thought we would look like defensively. Of course, we faced more pro-style offenses than up-tempo offenses, but still, lack of effort, that wasn't there. That problem didn't exist by the end of the season.
Not at all, no. They got that turned around.
But we talk about it, as a team approaches a trade deadline in July in baseball, or, after week 4 or 5 in the NFL, whatever, that a GM has to look at a long-term prognosis versus a short-term maybe trend and say, I'm sorry that we won 6 in a row and now we're, within a couple games of the wild card, but this team isn't good enough.
Yeah, they're not good enough to get to where we want to go, yeah.
We're going to have to sell off some of our better pieces, and we're going to have to play to the long term. Jimbo had to think about that, I would think, in a similar way. Okay, what were we? Were we the team that prepared all offseason long and produced what we produced for the first month and a half of the year? Or were we the team that got it right in terms of what the coaching staff did and how the defense performed as a whole? And clearly the answer that he's given is we were more the team on the back end. Whatever was wrong, whatever the noise in our process was quieted and silenced. And I think that, okay, now that we've had that corrective action, moving forward, with this staff, we're fine. I would also think that he thought, as the season was closing, all right, we fixed that problem, but I know in my own mind that I'm going to spend a little bit more time doing this, this, and this that I was spending zero time doing in the offseason. So spring ball, for example, right now, micromanager Jimbo, back to that email. I would think that if he decided that the entire staff is going to stay continuous from one season to the next, he knew that he was going to be spending and allocating a little bit more time overseeing those things hands-on.
Yes, and also I would say that he would do that because he loves them. And what I mean by that is this. I think it's hard for a coach, especially Jimbo, who invests in people. You remember Coach Kelly getting emotional in talking about his bond with Jimbo Fisher and breaking down, getting choked up when he talked about the extension and Coach Fisher standing by him. Well, I think Coach Fisher cares very deeply about those men, very deeply about them and their families. And I don't think he wanted to part ways with any of those guys because he loves them. But he also believes that they're very good at their jobs. But when they've had a misstep, when they've had a season like they had a year ago where the defense did not play to the ability of its players, you may invest, you may publicly and privately invest in those coaches and say, I'm sticking with you. But you also want to ensure that the corrective measures are taken, not just because it makes your team better, and certainly you're the head coach and the buck stops with you, but because it allows for them to succeed. And whatever you can do to aid their success, you're going to do, especially when you care personally for those guys. And listen, there are two kinds of work relationships, and we get that, right? There are people you see at work every day that you happen to work in the same building, but you don't really do anything with them. You don't really know their families. You wave, you're cordial. That's about the end of it. That's not the way that group is. That's not – he and Rick Trickett go back. They know each other. They love each other. Their families, all of that. I think he and Coach Kelly have really bonded. So he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that those guys don't have another rough year. Because not just because, hey, look, it's his job to make sure the team succeeds, but because he cares that they kind of get that stain off the record, if you will.
Sure, but I think there is the objective thought process to it too, where let's say that the results for the defense were flipped last year, and they came out, they played as good as we thought they were going to play, and let's say health was consistent or whatever. And then the back half of the year, they're signing IOUs. I mean, don't you think that...
Oh, that would be a bad news, my friend. Yeah.
The way that they finish, I think influenced his decision to say, all right, we've got whatever we...
together.
I hate that we had to have these conversations, guys. But we did, and we're better for it, and now let's move on. But I think it has to be about the way they finished, the way the players responded to the coaching staff, and the results on the field, that he said to himself, all right, let's roll with what we got for another year. Because I have to believe halfway through the season he's thinking, am I going to have to draft up that list that he often talks about, where if guys leave, he has a list of coaches that he might want to call, a short list?
Well, I also think that maybe when he took a look around, I mean, we don't know what that process looks like necessarily, that maybe he took a look around and thought, well, the guys I'd want aren't available, and or we can't afford them, or they have good jobs. And really, at this juncture, I'm not going to fire somebody to fire somebody. If the right guy had been available, would he have made the same decision? We'll never know. We'll never know. But I'm sure that's all part of it.
Well, and I agree with what you're saying, because the way that Jimbo cares about the players and his coaching staff is not something that he really exudes when he talks to the media. You know?
But it's genuine, because I get the opportunity to talk to him every Sunday during the course of the season, and I can tell you, and I'll tell all the listeners, that I have had cause in the past to maybe question a player's ability or consistency or whatever it might be. And he will go into protective mode. Now, I don't do that in the course of an interview. Obviously, that's not professional. But off the air, just to get context, we've developed a relationship to where I can ask him certain questions, and he'll be honest with me, and we can talk about aspects of the team that maybe isn't something he wants public, so it's off the record. And reporters, you have to respect that. And in that situation, I'm being a reporter. I'm asking for contextual purposes to be able to come on the air and tell you, well, got some problems with this offense that is going to have to get fixed, or, maybe the guy's emerging, but he's just not ready yet, and I think the offense will change once he is, all that kind of stuff, right? But if I'm overly critical of the guy in question at the time, you can sense almost the father in him. And I give him credit for that, because there's nobody to hear that conversation. It's just he and I. And that's how I know it's genuine. He'll say, Well, now wait, he was working very hard, and he's a good player. He's a good kid. He's just struggling right now. He'll be a good player. He's just not ready yet, Jeff. That's his way of saying, yo, slow your roll. That's genuine. That is very genuine.
I'm just saying, with all that said, right, about the protective mode and the loyalty, this is also a cutthroat business.
Brutal business. It can't happen again. Those guys will be fired.
Exactly.
Without
exactly.
question.
And I think if the results were flipped, they would have been.
But I agree with that.
I think they got to such a low point, and Charles Kelly and the staff had enough time, and they had enough games, enough.
Can you imagine what that was like? I mean, some of the things that were said to Charles Kelly by the fans.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, there's a video where Jimbo looks up into the stands too.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
awful. I'll just tell you something. I can only imagine being that guy. You're in a dream job, and those kids go out and perform that way for whatever reason. It can't happen. Everybody knows that. It just can't happen. You're having a bad day, tough luck. Had a tough week, got surprised by something. Kids are going can't happen. Cannot. I can't imagine. It could, when we're trying to project this year and next year, it could be a moment that we look back on and say, wow, I mean, it changed that guy's career for the good or the bad. I mean, we'll know after this year, right?
He's had a really weird career, though, because in 2015, the defense was good, and
really
if we had a modicum of consistency on offense and quarterback play, it was like, damn, we're really wasting a top 20, 25 defense here that stifled Clemson. He had them completely confused in the first half up in their building and played really well for the bulk of the season, and you thought, if Jameis stayed one more year, or you know what I mean?
That kind of justified the hire.
Ponder, that year, that damn, this defense was good enough to make the playoff and put you in a position to win a game against the best in college football.
Yeah.
And then last year they do what everybody thought that he was all along, and it's like, well, wait a minute, 2015 happened as well. And by the time it got so bad, the players were signing petitions, and everybody, including people who were defending Kelly, said, well, maybe it's time. Then they flipped the script, and here he is another year. It's just a really weird place to be in a really weird career.
It is really weird, and that's why that career is still kind of hanging in the balance, at least as it applies to Florida State, because he's got good players. If you got good players, you got to play well. It's really that simple.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Blountstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. As most of you know, it's that time of year again. Tax refund time. What does that mean for all of us? It means that every single car dealer in town will be trying to shout the loudest for you to bring in your tax refund. Bring in your W-2s, and they will put you in a car. A used car that is nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit. And at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Spring cleaning should start in your laundry room, because during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot, you can save up to 35% on appliances like the Samsung high-efficiency top-load washer and electric dryer, now just $528 each. Extra large capacity washing and steam drying save you time, and Spring Black Friday will save you over $540 when you buy the pair. Nobody beats our prices, guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. Gas dryer extra. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples Guide. This year I'm preparing my own taxes.
Good for you.
Yep, I'm going to be accountable.
Right. Well, Staples can help with storage and filing supplies, plus software like QuickBooks and TurboTax.
Go on. You have my interest.
And now get TurboTax for up to $10 off at Staples.
Up to $10 off TurboTax? That'll pay handsome returns.
Right.
Thanks, Staples Guy. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
The tax deadline is almost here. Hurry into Staples for up to $10 off TurboTax. Staples. Make more happen. In-store only. Ends 4/15/17.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Spring is the perfect time to be outdoors enjoying the fresh air with friends and family. It's also the right time to make sure your air conditioning system is ready for the hot summer. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air to learn more about your financing options for every budget. Visit us today at baranoac.com. License number CAC 057652.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Join us for 8 days of nonstop tennis as the rising stars of the USTA Pro Circuit battle for a main draw wildcard into the French Open. It's the 18th annual Tallahassee Tennis Challenger, April 22nd through the 29th at the Forest Meadows Tennis Complex. Proceeds benefit the Wagner Neurointensive Care Unit at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, Tallahassee Democrat, the City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, 850 Business Magazine, and Comcast.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. That's 800-344-2066.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Too much beer and whiskey to ever be employed.
University of Florida pulling a Bush League stunt Tuesday night at McKeithen Stadium. But of course, Florida was losing badly in the fifth inning against Stetson. It was 10-1. Stetson can hit Florida. We can't hit Florida, but Stetson can pound Florida, and did.
To the tune of 10 runs.
Yes.
Like 8 seasons output for us.
5 innings. So it's 10-1, and that's the good news. Stetson was pounding Florida. The bad news is that it won't count. It doesn't matter. They scored 6 times in the second inning, built that 10-1 lead. The rain came. The Hatters obviously wanted to wait around and go ahead and play that baseball game.
Even for just, a few more outs.
Yeah, 3 more would work. As it turned out, Florida didn't bother to get the crew out there to put the tarp on the field as the rains came down for a good 25 minutes into the delay. Well, would you look at that, Jimmy? The water seems to be pulling up there over at short. This may be unplayable soon. Might we get the tarp? The game was halted. The players were cleared from the field. The grounds crew didn't immediately roll out the tarp. They took their time. And because the rain was falling quite heavily, by the time the crew started to move the tarp, it was finally deployed at 8:40, and that turned out to be too late. At 9:55 p.m., Florida announced game would not be resumed. No makeup date would be scheduled. The rain had stopped falling at that point. They just didn't want to come out and finish the game down 10-1.
Okay, we deal with sports information directors all day, every day when it comes to Florida State, FAM, TCC, you name it. And their job is to be
pro school they work for.
Objective only when things are bad. You know what I mean? Like that's when they'll be, I'm sorry.
No.
Objective only when things are good.
That's correct.
And then when things are bad, they'll tell you that, Florida registered 6 hits and a 10-1 loss today.
Right.
It's kind of like you go to the MLB.com website and you'll see the front page for your favorite team, and they'll link you to the game day or whatever, and they'll say Conforto with an early home run for the Mets, and you look down, you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we're down 11-1.
And we're down 11-1 in the 5th inning.
Good
Great.
thing he hit a solo shot in the second.
Well, the Stetson SID said enough was enough in the release for the cancellation and the fact that the Gators are not going to reschedule the game. It is brutal. A couple of quick paragraphs. With 2 available open dates for the teams to resume the game, Florida also balked, saying those dates, Tuesday, May 10th and Tuesday, May 16th, were too close to the SEC tournament for them to be able to play.
Yep.
So the Stetson Hatters will have to be happy with knowing that they beat the mighty Gators into submission, even though they won't get the win or the stats to show for their efforts. That's on an official school release.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's Bush League, man. You're getting your ass beat, and you figure, you know what? We can opt out. And they did. They chose to do it. I will say, even though, admittedly, I think it's Bush League, if Florida State were down 10-1 and the rains came in the 5th and you were unable to, get the tarp onto the field in time to be able to save it, and the game could not be resumed, I guess the more direct question is, would you tell them to do that? Would you say, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to get that tarp in place than it should be, Jerry? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you're going to pretend to be tugging at that tarp, but guys, we're trying. Something's wrong with the tarp. Would you do that?
No.
I don't think I would,
wear
but
it.
maybe I
you
would.
try
Yeah.
outside of Lightning, you try and get to that, official game status. Come on.
You do.
What does it matter? I mean, honestly, if Florida does what it's supposed to do, what does that result matter to Florida?
It's certainly Bush League. There's no question. It's just that when I thought about it a little bit more, I thought, would I be inclined to kind of engage in that sort of gamesmanship? Is another way of.
Buddy, if it's the bottom of the 2nd inning and it's 6-7-0 and the rains are coming and they're not going to break for hours and hours, that's one story. But you're in the 5th.
But it's not my job to try to make sure you get the win officially. I mean, I can't help that it started to rain. Now, again,
you can pull the tarp out.
You can pull the tarp out. That's the problem, is that it took them 25 minutes to even go get the tarp. And then you won't reschedule it. And, yeah, that'd be a big win for Stetson. That's a tough one. UF pitchers are happy it didn't count.
Yeah, typical.
It certainly lends itself to the kind of criticism that I've read today, and there's no doubt it's Bush League. You don't do it. I can't figure out, and in pro baseball.
Okay, if they're up 10-1, what do they do?
Oh, they're damn sure coming back out there to
That's
finish
what I'm
that game.
saying.
Of course.
You have to hold the standard equally. We all know what's happening here.
Yeah, no,
if they're up
everybody does.
10-1, they're going to try to fight for those extra 3 outs last night, so they can just be done with it and say, sorry, guys, final 5.
Oh, well, at that point, you do the thing where you just go up there and swing at the first pitch. Let's go. Let's get out of here, man.
Exactly. Oh, how about that? Oh, side retired in
Just
order.
3 pitches.
Oh.
Good night, Irene.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
Sorry about that.
Final 5.
Swing and bunt.
That's why this is
Slip out the box.
You know what?
It is. It's garbage, and it looks bad. It's a bad look. There's no question about that. In terms of sportsmanship, seriously, it's a bad look. I get that we're all taken to the edge in highly competitive situations, and you want to win, and engage in sort of things that are dubious at times. But yes, from a sportsmanship, it's college baseball angle, what are we doing here? Go get the damn tarp. Come back out there, play that game. It's 9:30. It's not midnight. Go finish the game. Those guys don't feel like finishing a game they're going to lose, and that's that. And there's no other way around it. It's ugly. Is it indicative of the way that program's run? That I don't know. That I'm not willing to say. But last night, bitch made.
Well, I think about there is kind of a brotherhood here in the state of Florida when it comes to college baseball. I mean, think about
Just baseball in general.
All the relationships that these college coaches have, large institutions or small. I mean, think about everybody that Florida State schedules. They play Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast, UCF, USF, JU. There are relationships here. There's a fraternity.
Well, they all recruit. They end up seeing each other all the time.
Exactly. So what does this do to the future of Stetson and Florida scheduling games together?
Well, there's no question that you would, I imagine last night, Steve Trimper? I imagine he's on the phone saying,
really? Wait, you have 2 open dates and you're not going to
reschedule this?
Really?
Oh, I would imagine that conversation is an ugly one. I mean, baseball coaches aren't afraid. Those guys are pretty damn blunt over the years I've discovered, and even behind closed doors, Martin is too. I mean, and Junior, when they're on the road, if they think somebody's up against it when it comes to scruples in recruiting or whatever it might be, those conversations get had the next time you're all there to scout a kid. The next time you're there sitting in the stands to watch an all-day baseball tournament, round-robin style. All you have is time in baseball to sit around and talk about players and schedules in your school and all of this stuff. Yeah, you talk about alienating yourself without question.
The answer to this one, again, is simple.
In the pro baseball games, what happens is the next time the two teams play, somebody gets hit.
Sure.
It just doesn't happen in college.
Yeah, but the league intervenes there, too.
Well, of course, the league, yes, decides. It's not up to the manager. It's not up to the home ballpark.
But I'm saying the answer to this one is simple. If the score's the other way, what happens? This game gets played.
We already know it.
And that's why that's such a load of something.
Well, and also I do like that in pro baseball, it is, I know people complain about unwritten rules all the time, but it's not just unwritten rules. It's the right way and the wrong way, and it's agreed upon amongst baseball people that this is how our things are done. And if those things are violated, then people get hit. But that doesn't happen in college. It doesn't, and I hate that. I mean, listen, I know it sounds like a jerk thing to advocate for people to hit college kids, but if you're Stetson the next time you play Florida, middle of the back.
Take your suspension.
First chance you get. And I'm sure that would lead to a fun brawl for all of us to take in. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Need tires? Head on over to one of their 5 auto and tire super service centers. Locally owned and operated, and serving Tallahassee for nearly 40 years.
There's a new 7-year tractor warranty in town. Now, only Mahindra tractors have the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty. That's right. Not 5 years, not 6, but a full 7 years. Only on the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Only at TNT Supercenter. Go see Clint and the friendly staff to get your next Mahindra tractor. TNTSupercenter.com.
Warranty on select models. See Mahindra warranty policy for details.
Milwaukee specials are heating up at Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. M18 Fuel 2-tool combo kit, $100 trade-in plus free brushless Sawzall. Hurry up while supplies last. This great deal ends soon. $100 off most Milwaukee M18 Fuel kits. M18 Fuel, upgrade, outwork, outlast. Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, the largest Milwaukee selection in the area. Big store pricing with local service. 2 locations to choose from: 1110 Stuckey Avenue and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays at 8 a.m. until noon. Call them at 580-1200 or online at ctf.nu.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Don't miss the annual Outdoor Power Sale at Ace, our biggest outdoor power sale of the season. Save big on mowers, blowers, trimmers, chainsaws, and more from the best brands like Craftsman and Toro, all under one roof. And as always, the help is free. Hurry into your local Ace now for huge savings during our biggest outdoor power sale of the year. Offers valid on select products through April 17th at participating stores. Includes instant savings offers for Ace Rewards members. See store for details.
It's the final days of Mattress Firm's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you've ever wanted a Tempur-Pedic or Sealy, it's your last chance to save up to 70% off. Plus, take up to $2,000 off floor models. We're liquidating every Tempur-Pedic and Sealy in stock to make room for the next generation of innovative sleep products. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, only at your local Mattress Firm while supplies last. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/circulars. Product offer and prices may vary in Hawaii.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. As most of you know, it's that time of year again. Tax refund time. What does that mean for all of us? It means that every single car dealer in town will be trying to shout the loudest for you to bring in your tax refund. Bring in your W-2s, and they will put you in a car, a used car that is nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit, and at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's hard to say it was a must-win this early in the season, but for the Florida State baseball team, last night certainly was a must-win. The 22nd-ranked Seminoles break a 4-game losing streak thanks to some late-inning dramatics. Florida State with a 7-6 win over Florida Gulf Coast. The same two teams will go at it again later today. Former Seminole Timmy Jernigan is on the move. The Baltimore Ravens have traded him and a third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for another pick. Russell Westbrook continues to make history last night, his NBA record-tying 41st triple-double of this season. And college football news, all the buzz around Brian Kelly and his comments yesterday that his former quarterback, DeShone Kizer, should have stayed in school and not entered the NFL draft.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks so much for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't have to miss anything, but if you do, we post all 3 hours both on iTunes and in our own audio vault every day upon the conclusion of the show. And you can catch that at your leisure with very limited commercial interruption thanks to our wonderful podcast sponsor, Carlton Dean. CarltonDean.com, teaching you more about ways to make money with income-producing property. Email the show if you like, jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameron Show. WTSM app is free, and on YouTube, you can watch the show. ESPN Tallahassee, the feed there. Go to YouTube, type that in. You'll find us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us on a daily basis. Hey, do you think marketing in baseball has to get better? Jason Stark wrote a piece today for ESPN.com. Does a good job covering baseball, does Jason Stark, at least in my opinion. I say that because so often I am disgruntled by the coverage that ESPN, my employer, provides in any number of sports. But Stark does a good job. Actually, I think baseball is probably where they're best. I think if you think about Buster Olney and the job he does, and obviously Kirchin's very good at what he does, they got a lot of good baseball
Keith
people.
Law with the Prospect Watch.
Keith Law is awesome. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. A lot of good guys that cover baseball for ESPN. And it's interesting. I'll just read the beginning of this so that you can know where I'm coming from, and then we'll go from there. Can a game with no face really call itself the national pastime? We raised this question because as a new baseball season begins this week, there's no answer to the one simple question: who is the face of baseball? The NBA is the LeBron and Steph show. The NFL has Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, etc., and an army of rock star quarterbacks. Baseball, on one level, it seems to be overflowing with dynamic young stars. Once it steps outside its own comfort zone, however, it's as faceless as it has been in decades. And how do we know that? It's right there in the new polling data compiled by our friends at Lucre on Trends, the company that runs the ESPN Sports Poll. Between November and February, that firm surveyed more than 6,000 American sports fans aged 12 and up. If you don't count Tim Tebow, you shouldn't, or Bo Jackson, guess the only 3 baseball players who showed up among America's top 50 favorite pro athletes. There was Derek Jeter at number 13. He hasn't played a game in 2.5 years. Next came Babe Ruth at number 30. He's the only name on the list in any sport who hasn't appeared in a game for more than 8 decades. And finally, you get Pete Rose at number 50. The hit king last played in the big leagues 31 years ago, and he's been suspended from the sport for the last 28. So there you have it. America's 3 favorite baseball figures, guys who have been dodging the box scores for a combined 116 years. The first active player who shows up on this list is Anthony Rizzo, first baseman for the Chicago Cubs, and he's not in the top 50. He's 51, and that's all because of the epidemic that is Cubs fever after last year's winning of the World Series for the first time in over 100 years. So, all right, they've got the list, and you'll see players from almost every sport. You'll see guys like Usain Bolt on here, Michael Phelps on here, Ronaldo, Messi on here, all these guys, right? You'll find Dale Earnhardt Jr. is on this list. You'll see that Tiger Woods, who's not even playing golf currently, is on this list. And he goes on to write one more thing. In polling 17,000, nearly 18,000 American sports fans on the same question between January and December of 2016, the response was pretty much identical. The only variation was David Ortiz was in the top 25. Immensely popular. I didn't realize David Ortiz was that popular. In fact, he was 23rd amongst those surveyed, almost 18,000 people, favorite sports figure, period. David Ortiz, really? I'm surprised by that. But okay, Big Papi's a big name, and he was a charismatic figure. But wow.
I think in examining what baseball has done the last 15, 20 years in expanding to the internet stream and being the first to really perfect it to the point that other leagues hire out baseball advanced media, you know, they cut off the ability to really promote the sport from a national standpoint. I can remember Fox Saturday Baseball and Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN being big damn deals not that long ago, even when I was early in high school. But that's about it. It cuts off somewhere in high school.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Fox Saturday game of the week in baseball, when's the last time you really said, oh, I have to tune in and watch that game? It used to have a greater sense of urgency to it.
Yes.
You know, to even like a Thursday night TNT NBA game. has more pull for me because
It does?
Oh, yes, because it'll be a couple times a year where it's the Warriors and the Cavs, or it's LeBron goes against Westbrook, or because they have superstars that are going to be playing against each other, and I'll tune into that game more often than I would, say, if King Felix was throwing against Kershaw on Fox Saturday Baseball. Because for whatever reason, that game of the week never crosses my mind. Sometimes it's on FS1, sometimes it's on Fox. And then the Sunday night baseball, I felt like hasn't been popular since John Miller and Joe Morgan left the booth. And that's not fair to Dan Schulman, who's exceptional at his job, and Jessica Mendoza, who does a really good job. And
that crew is good.
And I'm not big on Aaron Boone, but sure.
No, but when they use what's-his-face.
So they get Buster down there, too.
Well, they get Buster, and they also have the crazy-haired pitcher who was with the A's all those years.
Braden. Yeah, Dallas Braden.
Yeah, he's not bad.
But it doesn't have that feel anymore. I feel like because of MLB Network, too, and what they're able to do, which is whip around to every game across the country every night. I just... The sport isn't wired the way it was when I was a kid, where if Randy Johnson was throwing on Fox on Saturday, I had to watch it. I had to see him.
That's true of sagging sports ratings in general, though, because you have access to every game, every night, everywhere. That's true, I think, in the NFL. Part of the puzzle where you talk about the sagging ratings in the NFL has to do with the access. There was a time where if you didn't watch the NFL game of the week or the Monday Night Football game, you just didn't get to see a lot of football, and you were starving for it. Nobody starves to watch anything anymore. They can watch anything they want on any given night, every night of the week. I can watch the NHL anytime I want, any team, anywhere, anytime. NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, college football. I have access to everything.
I 100% agree with you, but let's say that I'm a consumer, and I know a couple of friends who are NBA freaks, that they love their teams.
NBA enthusiasts tend to be.
They're like hockey fans in that way. But, so he'll watch his Miami Heat play all year long. But if it's going to be LeBron and the Cavs taking on the Spurs on Sunday afternoon on ABC, he's going to flip that game on. And I can understand that. However, if it's going to be Kershaw Bumgarner on a Saturday afternoon, I'm not finding that game. I'm not going out of my way to watch that baseball game. Maybe on Sunday night because there's not anything else on in that particular window, but really not even then. There's not an appointment matchup in baseball that I have to watch in the regular season. I'd much rather watch my own team because the way the app is set up, the way MLB.tv is just so damn convenient, and it's so high quality that I don't care what happens in other games unless we have an off night. Last night, I watched Cubs and Cardinals for a little bit. It's because we didn't play.
Well, it's because the Pirates didn't play either. I watched that game. Right.
Okay, exactly. It's just that I think baseball is wired a little bit differently. We're more individualistic about baseball and our own teams. We care more about our own roster than we do the premier matchup in the game at the time.
And that's the way baseball is going to be moving forward, with the media and entertainment consumption having shifted the way that it has. Baseball is hurt, but it's not something they can do anything about. They don't have a face, and they won't. LeBron is the face of the NBA. Steph's there. After that, I don't know. Whatever you can debate. It doesn't really matter. Let me continue here. Let's add some more to the conversation. Could any baseball player be LeBron? We begin with a fact from the same polling data. Nearly 1 in 4 people who consider themselves avid NBA fans, 23%, say LeBron James is their favorite player. That is how you define the face of a sport. Now, contrast that with baseball, in which no one even remotely approaches the star power of LeBron James. There isn't a single player in the sport who ranks as the favorite of even 3% of all avid baseball fans. That's correct. At the top of that list is the Cubs' Chris Bryant at 2.9%. For comparison, in the National Football League, Tom Brady checks in at nearly 10%. Quote, that 2.9% for Major League Baseball is a mixed blessing. Lucre Trends, Rich Lucre. It means the favorites are distributed more evenly across teams compared to the NBA, compared to the NFL, giving all the teams a rooting interest, but no one athlete is big enough to grab the nation's attention, which is what you were just alluding to. We like our teams, and that's just about it. Now, we recognize there are good players on other teams, and when our team plays that team, we tune in to see them too, but we're not going out of our way to avoid our team to go watch some other guy like Chris Bryant of the Cubs when you're a Mets fan. You're not going to do it. You do, in the NBA, want to go watch LeBron, even if you're a Celtics fan.
That's what I'm trying to say here.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You will go watch him. But it's a much more individualistic sport in that way. That guy It's one of 5. It's so baseball. He goes on to talk about Arn Tellem, the famed agent. For more than 30 years, high-powered agent for players in both sports, basketball and Major League Baseball. But in 2015, he crossed over to the other side to work for the Detroit Pistons as a vice chairman of Palace Sports and Entertainment. Quote, in basketball compared to baseball, the best player usually wins the last game of the year. If you look at the modern NBA, it was Magic Johnson winning championships, Larry Bird winning championships, Isaiah Thomas leading to the Pistons to the championships, Michael Jordan winning championships with the Bulls. And now it's Steph Curry along with LeBron. And the best player usually wins the last game of the year, or is at least in the game. So the NBA playoffs and finals are a tremendous showcase for their best players because they have a greater impact, as you know, on their games. There is no arguing with that. So if you look, it's interesting. There's no one baseball player that can do that. They can't. A star pitcher can influence a game in a series, maybe 2.
Unless you're Bumgarner, in which you'll affect 4.
Freakishly, right?
But he's not a household name, though. I wouldn't consider Madison Bumgarner amongst casual sports fans to be a household name. There's no way.
He's growing. If he continues to hit home runs, he will be, and that's true.
But here's the thing, I'm trying to look at this from the prism of being an adult. But as a kid, Ken Griffey Jr. was a superstar. He was larger than life. He was a video game star. He was everything.
Cal Ripken did that for a while.
Sure. Randy Johnson, the summer of 98. McGuire and Sosa were household names across the country. Barry Bonds, as much as people hated him in the early 2000s, everybody knew who the hell Barry Bonds was, or Roger Clemens was, or Derek Jeter. And certainly he still stands the test today because he was in the beginning of that article. But, in the 90s and early 2000s, the sport had stars that people knew about if they were just casually watching the game of baseball. And I don't think that's happening. And I think it's the effect of MLB TV being so good at what it's been for 15 years that people are now conditioned to watch and enjoy the sport completely differently than even, say, the NBA.
And they are, by the way. That's the other thing. The 2016 NBA Finals featured LeBron and Steph, right? They got clobbered in the ratings by the World Series, as did Game 7 of those finals by Game 7 of the World Series. So while LeBron, as Stark writes, might have 6 consecutive appearances in the finals going for him, that's not all he has. I think it's fascinating. Baseball promotes the game. That's what we're talking about here. Baseball promotes the game. The NBA promotes stars. If you're saying it from a marketing standpoint that it's a problem for baseball that they don't have a face, I might argue that I disagree with that premise.
That's fair, but it wasn't that long ago that they marketed stars, Again, you have a guy who has his own video game brand. That's completely crazy to think about now. Like if somebody, Tiger did after Ken Griffey Jr. did. But it was Madden football and Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. And those were the games that we played all year long. Year-round. We loved playing those baseball games, and Ken Griffey was on cereal boxes and on posters in our rooms, and we had Ken Griffey. We weren't Mariners fans, but we loved Ken Griffey Jr. There's nobody that inspires like that anymore, and I don't know if that's...
one of the problems, although Ken Griffey Jr. was in Seattle, so I guess this doesn't work, but the best player, the awe-inspiring player in the game that if you were to watch consistently on a nightly basis and watch Mike Trout play, you would see him do superhuman things. He has everything there is to love in the greatest of athletes in any sport. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's a great defensive player. He can do everything. And when you watch them play, you are in awe, especially if you happen to catch them play 3 or 4 times in a short period of time. But he plays for the Angels, and nobody gives a damn about the Angels. And so, West Coast, late at night, organization nobody cares about, or so it seems, doesn't help him. If he were a Yankee?
Yeah. Well, yes, I think there would be a bit of a different marketing platform because the Yankees would demand it, As soon as they have their next one, the Yankees and the New York media market are going to attach themselves. It's just, by nature of what the Yankees brand is and what the media market itself is. The execs are there. So the execs watch that guy play on a Tuesday night, and so the execs decide that he's going to be famous. Yeah. It's all about where you are, but it's not like he's not in Kansas City.
Well, they're telling him they're telling these agents and the marketing hands are telling baseball, you got to change. You got to change from marketing the game and start identifying, however you need to do this, polling, whatever it might be, figure out which players are either polarizing or somebody that people would gravitate towards and begin to promote them individually.
Oh, I think the way you do that, though, is it's a little bit different. Other sports can market across demos, but I think baseball has to market to kids.
Oh, always. It's always about the kids. And the best way to do that is to get more kids playing the game.
But for the NFL superstars, I mean, they are admired by men. You know what I mean? And NBA superstars are admired by grown-ass men. But there's something about baseball and the way it can bond with a little kid that if you can find a way to market towards...
You don't need a lot of money to play baseball. You don't need a lot of money to do it. Everybody can go out and play baseball. And they have begun to effort to do that now. They're competing with the rise in popularity of a game like lacrosse and obviously a game like soccer. That's happening. But baseball actually, if you go back and look at baseball's data from 2 years ago that we were citing, they did a study within the sport to see which sports were growing the fastest and which ones were dying off. And baseball was healthy. Baseball was doing better. There are fewer African-American players than there used to be, and they're looking to change that. They're getting more African-Americans to play baseball. That's a good thing. I think one of the things that's a bit of a problem for baseball, and only in the form of marketing, is that there are more foreign-born players playing Major League Baseball now than ever before. And while that's fine with me, I mean, that's great. I don't care. Good baseball
should play.
The best should play. That's all we care about. It does make it a little bit more difficult to market.
I would say this, though, for all this talk about what is wrong, quote unquote, with baseball and how different it is than when I was growing up 20 years ago, I feel like it's like golf. Golf may not have Tiger, but golf is in a wonderful place if you're watching the sport. There are so many great young players, and this week the Masters could be a showcase of, 2 generations worth of great players, from Phil Mickelson all the way down to Rahm and everything in between in the age group. And you see all these guys at the height of their power, and it could be any one player on a given week, and they're all worthy of it. Some years you felt like in watching golf that, man, this guy is really like Rich Beam is really going to be a major champion, or Chad Campbell. These guys are going to be our major champions.
Golf got lucky. Every now and then you get an Arnie, every now and then you get a Jack, and every now and then you get a Tiger, but it is so rare that a guy is both a dominating figure in the sport and charismatic.
But it doesn't feel like that now.
No.
These guys, the top 12, 15 names in the sport, you're like, well, that guy's a badass. That guy's a badass. I think baseball is in a very similar place right now, that you have so many different teams with young players, pitchers and hitters alike.
Young players are key here.
That are really good, that it's going to take care of itself.
It will. And another reason that it will is, okay, so we cited Big Papi a moment ago, and we cited Derek Jeter, both of whom are now out of the game, and yet reside in people's memories and minds as popular figures in the sport of baseball, despite no longer playing the game. More so than any current active player. That's crazy, right? Yeah, well, Tom Brady's 39 years old. He's the most popular player in the National Football League. He will be gone soon. And if we're going to talk about things being cyclical, which they are, then you lose that figure. LeBron James is 32, but he's played 15 years of basketball. So when he's gone, who's the face of the NBA? Steph? Steph can't carry the NBA the way LeBron has carried the NBA. Can't even come close. And I dare say there's nobody ready to take
Durant, because Durant just moved to Golden State. So what that does for his brand is completely undercut it.
Well, and I just don't think there's another Tom Brady waiting in the wings of the National Football League either. I mean, that's America's most popular sport, but its ratings began to dip. And when he goes and a few figures like him go, we'll see. Baseball's got young superstars that have come into the game, like you're noting. And if they can stay consistent, and if they can be in, get to the World Series and be constantly in the postseason where more eyes are on set seeing them and their brand of baseball, I think it could change. But the game, what I get mad about is the commentary around baseball always interests me. Everybody wants to fix baseball.
Yeah, it's not a healthy game right now.
They're always talking about how baseball needs to be fixed. Go take a look at the numbers, the financial numbers of baseball, and see how healthy baseball is. It's insane. It almost seems somewhat unbelievable. So much so that we have conversations about bubbles bursting and these cable packages for teams that really kind of subsidize them throughout the years as opposed to the attendance. or TV rate. It's amazing.
The only way that the cable deals are real is if you're factoring in some of the digital revenue that MLB is able to generate. For the same reasons that I think that people consume the sport completely differently now than they did 15 years ago, I would say that baseball is in a position to succeed for the next 15 to 20 years in a way that no other sport is, because they have embraced what we're experiencing right now a decade before the crisis is happening of cord cutting.
Cord cutting. And look, I would ask you this question. Is the NHL in peril? I
No,
don't think so.
no.
The NHL, it's
Okay. It's
been
kind of like,
ages since we've said this. The NHL is as healthy as it's been since before the strike.
okay, it's kind of like Netflix. Remember when Netflix first came around and it was a mail service?
Did I say baseball? I meant to say the NHL. Sorry.
No,
Yes.
you did. You said
Okay,
you said the NHL. But you remember it was a mail service. They mailed you DVDs for
That's
the
right. Yes,
the
I
college kids out there that maybe you were a kid when that happened. I can remember being an undergrad and sitting at a computer and looking up at a couple articles, and we were looking at media and the future of media. And there was this long article about Netflix. And the CEO is talking about how, well, the next wave is streaming. It's all internet-based stuff. And I remember thinking in the moment, so Netflix is going to transition from this uber killer DVD delivery service that's put Blockbuster and Hollywood Video out of business forever.
Yeah.
And they're going to go streaming? I don't know. Maybe. And now, where are we?
Yeah.
I think that's what baseball has done. They've combined
It's
that.
also what the NHL did.
Yes. Well, they hired baseball.
They hired baseball's people.
Yes.
They recognized
They
it. It
said,
was
"You
very,
guys
very smart.
know
You got
what the
it.
bleep you're doing."
That's right. But that's why I say whenever this conversation comes up, they're always talking about the problems of baseball. And I don't see it that way. They're flush with money. They're paying top dollars for the best players in the world. Look at the best players in baseball and what they make compared to the expense that it takes on their body.
Who was pitching last?
I mean, it's insane.
Brett Cecil was pitching last night out of the bullpen for the Cardinals, and so he's facing lefties now, and that's what he does. But he was for a long time a starter for the Blue Jays. Okay, he's getting paid $7.5 million a year for 4 years to be what he is.
Just to be a bum.
Yes.
Oh,
and if you're a
baseball
bum in the
salaries are
NFL, you're making like $300,000.
Well, you're out of the league if you're over 25 and you're marginal. They
And
don't
this
pay
guy
players in the NFL
is
anymore.
in his late 20s, early 30s, and he's a lefty specialist, and he's making $7.5 per.
Listen,
that's crazy.
The other thing that's going to help baseball, and we know this, is that, again, more and more moms are saying no to their kids playing football because they're scared to death of the concussion problem. And, again, whether or not there's anything to that long term now that they've got ways to treat concussions and now that they at least acknowledge that that's part of the game and that you have to know what you're doing in dealing with concussions and keeping people out and having a proper protocol and not denying that that's an aspect of a very violent sport. Maybe that will save the sport long term. But for now, there's enough fear out there in which fewer and fewer people are playing Pee Wee football. It's a fact. When that comes to roost, right? I mean, when we start seeing 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years from now, those numbers continue to decline, if that happens, where are those kids going to go? What sport are they going to play? Well, that's the war. The war right now is to win them over. And baseball is attempting to do that and has been, but so is lacrosse and so is soccer and so are many other sports. There are other options out there. But baseball will be one that many of those kids, many of those athletes will flock to. Because the salaries, if you're good at baseball, if you're a great athlete and you can make a major league roster, you can be you get paid, and the toll it takes on your body is far less than the NFL career you would have had. And by the way, that NFL career, on average, is going to last 3 years.
You can have grand and great grandkids and see them.
Yes, and know
in
who
football,
they are.
Good luck.
Know who they are. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
17.
At Auto and Tire Super Service Center, their goal is to keep you safe. And right now, when you buy your tires from them, you'll receive free road hazard protection, free tire rotation for life, free interest for 6 months, and a free oil change. And right now, get a $70 Visa gift card with the purchase of a set of Michelin tires. So when you need tires, head on over to one of their 5 Auto and Tire Super Service Centers, locally owned and operated, and serving Tallahassee for nearly 40 years.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a buzzer-beating shot. Every Thursday night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, it's Beer Bingo Thursday. Enjoy $2.25 domestic pints, $3.25 domestic Big Daddies, and $6.75 domestic pitchers as you play Beer Bingo for signature Corner Pocket prizes. And if you're feeling the heat, Fireball shots are just $3.25 all night. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Appalachia Parkway next to Earth Fair. He's gone! Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Join us for 8 days of nonstop tennis as the rising stars of the USTA Pro Circuit battle for a main draw wildcard into the French Open. It's the 18th annual Tallahassee Tennis Challenger, April 22nd through the 29th at the Forest Meadows Tennis Complex. Proceeds benefit the Wagner Neurointensive Care Unit at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, Tallahassee Democrat, the City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, 850 Business Magazine, and Comcast.
Due to an upturn in the economy, Main Street Business Loans has pre-approved the release of millions of dollars in small business funding. Your business may already be pre-approved to receive up to $250,000. We've sent out millions of pre-approval letters. We see the economy growing, and our underwriters believe now is the time to invest in your business so you can grow faster and make more money. And we're prepared to give you up to $250,000 to do it. Your funds can be available in 5 days. There are no application fees, no annual fees, just quick access to up to $250,000. If your business did not receive your approval letter to get up to $250,000, call Main Street Business Loans Approval Desk now.
800-509-2163, 800-509-2163, 800-509-2163, 800-509-2163.
Out on the golf course, there are the obvious hazards. There's the pond, the bunker, the rough, the even rougher.
Yeah, put me down for an 8.
The giant maples. The row of houses out of bounds on the right. The angry flock of geese who've surrounded your ball. Even the occasional groundskeeper you had no clue was there. But if you think you found every possible hazard out there, think again. The hazard you missed could actually be a killer. It's the spot on your skin, the one that could be skin cancer. Fact is, if you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills 1 person every hour. 1 in 5 Americans is likely to develop a form of skin cancer during their lifetime. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. It could be the save of a lifetime. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. JCS at 979ESPNradio.com, the email address. Fire away with those. Yeah, you know, it is interesting, too. We were talking about the future of how people consume sports. There's a great article, I mentioned it earlier in the week, about ESPN seeing the future of television and not liking it. And if you're one of those people, and hey, listen, I get it. I'm with you. There's only so much I can say. But when you tune to ESPN now, it's pretty evident that it's a far cry from what it used to be. They're trying to figure things out.
While slashing their budget, too, which is not helpful.
Well, I mean, yes, because they recognize that they're not going to have the same purse strings they had.
I just never understood, I really honestly, if you look at the model that they had, again, when I was a kid, where ESPN2 showing World's Strongest Man replays all day long, and ESPN has SportsCenter replays up until about noon, which is when they'll have Baseball Tonight or the NFL show or whatever they had during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, for all the money that they've dumped in to those hours of the day, would it not be more profitable of a venture to just do what they did back in those days versus what they're doing now? Because if you're going to fight that hard, if you're going to pay Kellerman and Stephen A., a combined $6-7 million a year in order to get
to embrace debate.
Yes, exactly, and get 800,000 to 1.1 million viewers per day, is that really cost effective? I just don't get it. The highlights should be what carries the coverage.
Yeah, they've gone to appealing to the housewife, with Good Morning America,
Jerry Springer,
or Today Show type stuff. It is, it's interesting just as a male, and I don't mean like specifically a white male. I just mean as a male. When you flip on ESPN in the middle of the afternoon, there's nothing for you, man. Like there's you might as well keep it on. There's just nothing there. It's interesting. They've clearly chosen a direction, and I'm sure they've done a ton of research. They've got a ton of money to do that, and they're trying to find their way. What's fun for us as, let's just say, sports fans and consumers, right, is that nothing's been settled just quite yet. And actually, you can take this and have the larger discussion about what is the ACC network going to be. I get the frustration as we sit back, and it appears certainly that every year that goes by, we're losing ground to the Big Ten and to the SEC monetarily because of the windfall that they receive from their networks and that we're not currently getting with our digital platform. But I do think that it's understandable that they're taking their time to figure out how that's actually going to look and how that's going to work, because it's rapidly changing right before our eyes. And we're seeing networks like ESPN having to deal with the after effects of cord cutters, having to deal with the understanding that the way you market your programming, the way that you present your highlight packages, the way you go about structuring your sports coverage, it has shifted not once, not twice, 3-4 times over the last 5 years.
Well, think about it from even our own perspective here, adding something like a video stream and making sure that we're on multiple platforms. I mean, what was it, 6-7 years ago, I think, when I was first on board? Maybe it even was there when I first started as an intern in 2009. But podcasting was like the new thing, and that was a process every day that it kind of blew my mind when I first jumped on board at the old place. That was something that I would help with every day and make sure the podcasts were up where they needed to be. They used to be individual segments, not so much the hourly format, but that's the way people want it now, the hourly format. So, we have that sponsored content, which is great, but that's the way people consume things across all media platforms. Once the DVR was created, everything changed about the way there's no appointment to be set anymore for you. You set the appointment for the content you want.
TiVo.
Exactly.
When TiVo happened, I remember thinking at that time, well, this is going to change things a little bit. To the extent that it has, I don't think the people who run the networks were prepared.
No, it's like the last stand for radio, I'm fond for saying. The last stand for radio is when cars are able to drive themselves, okay, we're in trouble. The radio business is in trouble because then you can enjoy video content.
Maybe live radio is in trouble, but I don't think because you're able to podcast now, I mean, people are going to want their content, their local coverage. Radio is saved by being local.
Sure. But I mean, in terms of just being audio alone, I mean, we've already made the transition. We're already launching this part of it. But, just the audio alone product, maybe for runs. I mean,
that's I mean, listen, though podcasts remain wildly popular, and it's because when you're doing something outside, walking, running, exercising of some kind, maybe laying in bed decompressing at night, maybe you just want. Hey, listen, the way you tell stories matters too. I mean, radio will adjust. It always has.
But the thing is that I'd say the last stand for sports and social media has helped in such a great way for sports. I know it's taken away from some of the revenue streams that, if people can follow something on Twitter.
It's also taken away good reporting.
I agree. I hear you 100%. But it's also been the best friend to sports because it makes people have to be current in order for their own social currency, for their own, because they always want to be in on the jokes and all that kind of stuff. If social media didn't exist the way it did right now, I wonder if we would be moving more towards a DVR culture for sporting events. But because people are wired in and people are reacting
you don't
to
want to miss the
every
game because you're going to hear about it either way.
Because you're going to hear about it either way.
Yeah.
And the last stand for sports is if at some point our culture says, well, I understand that people are watching it, live and they're going to sit through all the commercials, but I'm going to start it an hour and a half late. I mean, I do that already.
Well, a lot of people do that.
But if the culture at large does that, then where does a network like ESPN stand? Because all they're doing is dumping in their revenue, their available money into live sports. It's the last thing that people watch when at a set time, in a set place.
It's the only reason to tune in to ESPN, in my opinion, anymore, is if they're actually carrying a game. Because nobody wants to just hear people in boxes scream at each other about non-issues, which is what happens all day long on almost every network now.
And to be fair to ESPN, even though I just got done saying the highlights themselves should carry the day. Well, I mean, if you could turn on Twitter and see a GIF of every big moment 10 seconds after it happens, what good is SportsCenter anymore? Why is that necessary to my consumption of sports?
Yeah, but, Twitter, depending on what you read, Twitter is not doing all that well.
Okay, well, let me expand it then to the internet. You go to MLB.com.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to any website, and 5 to 10 minutes after something happens, you can click on a video that's 15 seconds long. It's got a nice embedded 5 to 10 second advertisement right there. But then there's the highlight that you would wait all day long to see on SportsCenter because you didn't have the opportunity before.
Yeah, that has certainly gone away.
So that's another reality that ESPN has to deal with.
They're not armed with something unique.
They're not a victim here. But they're also trying to scramble with a new culture that has robbed them of the model that we in the 90s as kids loved and we are nostalgia to have again.
80s and 90s. I mean, if you're my age, you're having to adjust once again to the way that people consume their entertainment, their sports. And so that's wildly different than it used to be. And right now that transition is very evident because it feels like they're lost. It feels like they're throwing things against the wall to see if it sticks. And they'll tell you that what they're doing is working, but then you'll see them fire massive amounts of their workforce. So I don't know. I don't know if that's working or not.
It might be relatively working because it's important to distinguish, too, that people are not subscribing to ESPN anymore because they were never really subscribing to their cable or satellite providers for ESPN in the first place.
Right.
People that want ESPN are going to continue to watch ESPN, and they're going to hate watch it, but they'll watch it. It's just that it was so bundled in with these packages where you couldn't take away like a single strand by itself and enjoy that strand, that this is the reality check. This is a bubble in and of itself in this moment.
The hate watching is readily apparent by reading just the people alone that say follow this show. Me, you, whatever. Even the people on the beat. Like if you just watch the people who respond to that group, you see the loathing of ESPN. We're fortunate in that we're removed enough in a small enough bubble, it's odd that I would say this, but in truth, to kind of peek behind the curtain for you guys, when you look at what ESPN's currently doing in the way that they're firing so many people, the reason that we're partly immune from something like that is we're in a very small market. So we're not commanding millions of dollars, so they're not going to start with us. They're going to start way up there and work their way down. And also, frankly, this show is wildly popular, does well for the network, and makes them money, and so we're going to stay on the air. But, if we made a lot of money, you'd be nervous. Because I bet you everybody, anybody in a big market now that ESPN is backing.
Well, no, it doesn't cost ESPN much of anything for this venture.
Yeah.
And so why would they? I mean,
well, especially because
they are scrimping for every dollar that they can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From every place that they can get it. And so this operation is not going to be a problem
No,
for
but
them.
if you're somewhere else and you're a top dollar guy, and,
Right.
and they've invested and they've been the backbone for that venture.
Oh, well, think about
You're
why
in
people are
trouble.
leaving. I mean, they just announced yesterday that Sage Steele is not going to be on the desk anymore for NBA pregame
Right,
shows
Michelle
on
Beadle
ABC.
is, yeah.
Right. What do you think that's about?
Oh, sure.
It's about, sorry, one's too expensive. And so let's make Michelle do 7 things.
Well, we experienced this when we worked for Clear Channel Radio, and what you would see is that when I started working for Clear Channel Radio locally, we had 70-plus people working in that building, and what was fun about that was, first of all, to work in radio at that time was exhilarating. You'd come to work, and literally there were people in every station. So, you had the sports station 1270 where I worked, and then TNT, obviously, and X101.5. And, later on, it was pretty cool. We had the Beat, and, you had 100.7. You had all these different stations. And 107.1. I used to remember walking down the hall and looking into the different studios, and there was somebody who worked the morning, there was somebody who worked the afternoon. This is a live human being talking into the microphone who had to prepare to do a show. This was a thing. It wasn't, obviously this wasn't a guy in Cleveland attempting to say the names of streets he didn't know. This was somebody local who worked there, and then they came in and they had their ideas of how to do radio, and they did their thing, and you could decide whether you liked their shift or not, whatever it might be. But then the next guy came in and he took over afternoon drive. And the next guy, there were people working overnights who talked into mics. Overnights, imagine them paying people to work overnights and do real radio live, like, hey,
Sure.
this is on.
Yeah.
That happened at every station in the building. So you would see 75, 100 people over there. What do they got working there now, 20? So it's crazy.
If that.
Well, and that's
12 of which are sales.
And that's what's happened, though, and it's devastating. But yes, what Clear Channel did at that time was take a guy like Matt Millar and tell him to do 47 things for no more money. And by the way, be happy we'll let you do that, so that way you can keep your job.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Not even the old rah-rah, we need you here.
No,
It's just like, this is your new role. Congratulations.
Well, yeah. Hey, listen, I know you produce this, and you do this, and you PD this, and you PD that, but you're also going to have to do this, and if you don't, guess what? You're fired, because we'll find somebody who will. And they would.
Consider this, and this isn't meant to besmirch her in any way, but, Sam Ponder is now the NFL Sunday Countdown host for ESPN. How much money do you think Sam Ponder is commanding compared to her predecessor, Chris Berman?
Well, and again, look around.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and actually now we should probably stop because we're on the verge of ripping our colleagues because
from an economic standpoint only, how much are they saving?
Yeah.
Host for host.
And she's good at what she does.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
I know you're not. And if you did, I wouldn't be offended. I don't care. That's fine. That would be your opinion, right? But, I mean, she's good at what she does, but you're right. She's not commanding not even half, not even a third of what that guy was making. And that guy sucked.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Hey, this is Clay with Miller's Tree Service. When you need work done in your yard, you want a professional, someone you can trust to provide high-quality service and get the job done right. We've got 3 certified arborists and 6 work crews that can meet all your tree care needs. Hire the professionals at Miller's Tree Service, where we'll go out on a limb for you.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
There's a new 7-year tractor warranty in town. Now, only Mahindra tractors have the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty. That's right, not 5 years, not 6, but a full 7 years. only on the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Only at TNT Supercenter. Go see Clint and the friendly staff to get your next Mahindra tractor. TNTSupercenter.com.
Warranty on select models. See Mahindra warranty policy for details.
So, the Violent Femmes are a very underrated 80s band.
I don't disagree. In fact, they're one of the first bands I ever saw in concert. I got a question for you since you're bringing up music. Yay or nay on Skid Row? Sebastian Bach.
Oh, that's Skid Row.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Don't miss the annual Outdoor Power Sale at Ace, our biggest outdoor power sale of the season. Save big on mowers, blowers, trimmers, chainsaws, and more from the best brands like Craftsman and Toro, all under one roof. And as always, the help is free. Hurry into your local Ace now for huge savings during our biggest outdoor power sale of the year. Offers valid on select products through April 17th at participating stores. Includes instant savings offers for Ace Rewards members. See store for details.
It's the final days of Mattress Firm's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you've ever wanted a Tempur-Pedic or Sealy, it's your last chance to save up to 70% off. Plus, take up to $2,000 off floor models. We're liquidating every Tempur-Pedic and Sealy in stock to make room for the next generation of innovative sleep products. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, only at your local Mattress Firm while supplies last. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/circulars. Product offer and prices may vary in Hawaii.
Woohoo! Banditos!
Huh? Where?
Banditos Burritos, baby.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
Hop on over to JCPenney's Easter sale, now through Tuesday. It's 7 days of great deals on select Easter looks for him and her, like women's dresses for $24.99 and dress shoes to match just $29.99. And check out stylish men's dress shirts just $19.99. Plus, stack on the savings and take an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon on select items throughout the store and at jcp.com. Hurry, JCPenney's Easter sale ends Tuesday. That's getting your pennies worth. JCPenney. Coupon valid now through 4/11. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
It's really bizarre, and it's a short segment, so I'll bring it up to you, Tom. Don't worry, we won't wallow. It's odd to look up and realize that the Tampa Bay Lightning have nothing to play for, barring a miracle.
Yeah, interesting times down in that market. They like what they have in the young culture. But I was talking to you today because we all do this as sports fans, that when our team is out of it, we find the next thing to be interested about. So if, you're a Knowles football fan and your secondary team is your NFL squad and the Knowles have, a September where they get scored nearly, 80 points on in Louisville, maybe you're caring more about those Sundays than you did before that game happened. For me, and we've been lucky enough, for you too, but really me, because I live and breathe hockey, especially in the playoffs. I haven't turned to Mets baseball in April or May even the last couple of years. But now here we are, week 1 of the season. I'm saying, all right. Tonight it's
Nightly,
DeGrom,
buddy, yeah.
Bartolo
You're
Colon.
locked in. You know
I'm
who's
locked in.
doing what when.
Here we go.
It's disappointing. I'm really hoping, and we talked the last hour a little bit about spring football. I'm really hoping that we're pleasantly surprised by Saturday. I'm worried in the sense that because there have been so many guys out, and it feels like it's lacking some continuity or intrigue. I'm really worried about. It's a small worry, relatively. How many people do you think are going to be at this spring game? I'll put the over under at 20,000 people at that spring game.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on War Chant. Gene Williams was guessing 15 to
He
20,000
was guessing
people.
15 to 20?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing 20,000 people, and I would probably take the under.
What's the weather? I think that also affects things here a little bit.
Yeah, certainly it does.
If it's going to be miserable outside.
Okay, let's remove that as a possibility. I'm telling you, it's the nicest day of the year on Saturday. Over under 20,000.
It's going to be high of 74, low of 45.
Perfect.
Sunny
so
skies.
it's the nicest day of the year. All right, over under 20. It doesn't change. The difference between the weather and that is whether or not you'd even get to 15,000.
Butts and seats are reported attendance. We're doing butts and seats
I'm
here, I
doing
would
butts
think.
and seats. I'm thinking we're looking at 12 to 15,000. I'm okay with that. I don't feel any shame about that. It's a freaking spring game. But, I mean, honestly, think of what they had last year in Orlando.
Yeah.
They're not going to sniff that.
I'll hazard a guess and say 25,000. I'll go over.
25,000?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That seems.
It's $5.
But it's another thing. It used to be free.
Yeah.
So it was free before. Now it's not free. We've all kind of agreed there seems to be a lack of a buzz for this spring game to begin with.
Most certainly. I think people will just assemble and hang out and
and
tailgate
that's
together.
one of the beautiful things about spring. And I can remember one of my favorite spring game moments was doing an interview. I was being interviewed by Tom Block. And it was over there at the stadium. And it was the first spring with Jimbo. And there was this buzz once again centered around that program.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, sure. That was the first camp I covered.
Oh, how excited everybody was because you believed that, life had been breathed back into the program.
Jimbo let the media into scrimmages.
Yeah.
That first because he needed the media to start, supporting the program.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I can remember that parking lot was a buzz. And there were people tailgating like it was a regular season game. And now, listen, they weren't insane like they are at Alabama where the running to the Gumps occurs every year and fat asses running with their posters and embarrassing themselves. But it was
an event.
For Florida State especially, we've just never had that for a spring game.
It was a spring game that actually had results and real stats. It didn't have the weird scoring systems.
Yeah, and it was just fun to see everybody again centered around, obviously a central theme being Florida State football trying to regain its footing. You don't have anything like that this year, and again, just for whatever reason, we haven't really been able to put our finger on it, except for that there isn't a lot of access and there have been a lot of guys hurt.
Oddball question with a minute and change left in the segment. Sorry, but aren't you excited a little bit to see Bailey Hockman? Because I am.
Oh, the reports are that he's looked really good, that he's picked up the offense a lot quicker than they would have expected for being a true freshman, not a redshirt, and that he throws a beautiful football. I am very excited about that, yes, and I hope that this offensive line can keep these guys, the two of which we're really excited to see, Cam Akers, give them some room, give them some time, give them some space. I'd like to see what these guys look like. Yeah, that's part of it that I am excited about. And again, like I said before, I'm excited to see DeAndre throw again. I hope there's some continuity. We know defense is ahead of offense, always is, and we know that this defensive line is going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems this year. So I halfway expect the offense to really struggle this weekend. I just hope we see signs that get us rejuvenated. Kind of get, breathe some life. Some things there that you go, wait a minute now, if we've got that. Again, like I said, Jimbo choosing to use the tight ends a little bit differently, things like that you could get excited about. Hopefully we see it. Final hour forthcoming. In that hour, Trey Jones, Florida State head golf coach, will join us to talk all things Masters. Got a couple of guys, a couple Knowles, top 40 players out there at Augusta. Weather the story at Augusta right now. It is Masters week after all. He'll join us next on the Jeff Cameron Show.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Business Loans has pre-approved the release of millions of dollars in small business funding. Your business may already be pre-approved to receive up to $250,000. We've sent out millions of pre-approval letters. We see the economy growing, and our underwriters believe now is the time to invest in your business so you can grow faster and make more money. And we're prepared to give you up to $250,000 to do it. Your funds can be available in 5 days. There are no application fees, no annual fees, just quick access to up to $250,000. If your business did not receive your approval letter to get up to $250,000, call Main Street Business Loans Approval Desk now.
800-509-2163, 800-509-2163, 800-509-2163, 800-509-2163.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, I'm Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. Some roofers are like a bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
Hop on over to JCPenney's Easter sale, now through Tuesday. It's 7 days of great deals on select Easter looks for him and her, like women's dresses for $24.99 and dress shoes to match just $29.99. And check out stylish men's dress shirts just $19.99. Plus, stack on the savings and take an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon on select items throughout the store and at jcp.com. Hurry, JCPenney's Easter sale ends Tuesday. That's getting your pennies worth. JCPenney. Coupon valid now through 4/11. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
There's a new 7-year tractor warranty in town. Now, only Mahindra tractors have the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty. That's right, not 5 years, not 6, but a full 7 years. Only on the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Only at TNT Supercenter. Go see Clint and the friendly staff to get your next Mahindra tractor. TNTSupercenter.com.
Warranty on select models. See Mahindra warranty policy for details.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's hard to say it was a must-win this early in the season, but for the Florida State baseball team, last night certainly was a must-win. The 22nd-ranked Seminoles break a 4-game losing streak thanks to some late-inning dramatics. Florida State with a 7-6 win over Florida Gulf Coast. The same two teams will go at it again later today. Former Seminole Timmy Jernigan is on the move. The Baltimore Ravens have traded him and a third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for another pick. Russell Westbrook continues to make history. Last night, his NBA record-tying 41st triple-double of this season. And college football news, all the buzz around Brian Kelly and his comments yesterday that his former quarterback, Deshaun Kaiser, should have stayed in school and not entered the NFL draft.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. If you miss anything, hey, man, we got you. We'll post the program when it's over, and you can catch it with a limited commercial interruption. Thanks to our great sponsor of the podcast, Carlton Dean, carltondean.com. Learn ways to make money. Commercial real estate. Figure it out. Income-producing properties, they're out there. carltondean.com. You can email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter at jcameronshow. WTSM app is also good. You ever get this thing when you try to do the, ESPN3, the online watch ESPN stuff, where it tells you that you have a blocker on, that if you just re-click it, it doesn't? I don't know what's going on with my stuff.
You have a blocker on.
No, it tells me that you can't watch the live event. This has been blocked. You have something blocking us from being able to show you this. It's blaming me. It's not saying that it's
Oh, it's
blocked.
not saying it's a local blackout.
Right. No, they're saying you, sir, have got a problem with your system. Check your system. But then I just click on it and tell it to go to hell and redo it, and it goes, oh, okay, our bad. There you go. Here's your show.
No.
How bizarre is that, right?
That is something.
It's annoying. Just thought I'd let you know. That's how I'm going to open the 5 right there, buddy.
We all have the little quirks that we find with our little software.
It just it's weird. It happens. I say that because I'm watching Grant Stewart come into the game for Florida State, and we've got some guys out there. You're like, oh, okay. And I'm checking scores, and I'm just making sure. I'm also doing the radio program, not just sitting here watching Florida State baseball, but I think it's odd, and it does that to me. It's 2-1, by the way, in the 4th inning, in the top of the 4th inning. Florida Gulf Coast has a 2-1
Yeah,
lead.
Luke had come to the plate with the bases loaded, nobody out, and he hits a screaming liner, first baseman.
First base double play unassisted.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, baseball is mean-spirited at times,
Sure is.
man. It can be cruel, incredibly cruel. They did win the game last night, and you just heard Lee Gordon mention that. I said in the first hour that, first of all, that game was not a must-win game. You only say that about games where you're going to be eliminated from contention, meaning you can't make the postseason. It was a game that you may want to win, and it's a game that certainly you feel good about winning because, hey, here's the deal. Florida State hadn't beaten anybody who was any good, seemingly, at all this year, or not with any kind of regularity, and they're coming off of a weekend that was disastrous, and you'd like to know that things are moving in the right direction, and perhaps this talent will emerge and play the way that we expected them to now that they're whole, if you will, now that the projected starting lineup for the first time all year has hit the field. They did get a win. It was in dramatic fashion. Taylor Walls came back. That's cool. And maybe bygones can be bygones, and they can get it going. That win felt good. I don't know that it's anything more than that, except for a chance for it to turn into something big, which means you got to win more baseball games against good teams. You got another chance today. Basically, when you look ahead at the schedule, it's opportunity after opportunity after opportunity against really good teams. And you're not going to be a top 8 national seed. That's gone. But play good baseball. Put yourself in a position to be playing well once you enter the postseason. And whatever disastrous stretch or start to a season that we've now acknowledged, which is obvious, worst of Martin's career, 18-11 through 29 games, now 19-11. Then that actually will be on the back burner, and you'll be moving forward feeling good about things in the postseason. If that were to happen, I don't know that this game last night necessarily portends of that.
No, but for as atypical as this is, and it's a first of its kind in Martin's tenure, as you just got done saying, would it shock you if they rattle off 6 out of 7 or something like that? Because that's they usually go on some kind of, and sometimes it's on the road too that it happens, and then all of a sudden they come back with
they get out
newfound
from under
momentum.
the weight of expectations here, right?
And then they're rolling. And the thing is, again, not to sound like a broken record, but this team has high-end talent in a way that some of its predecessors in the lean years in the last 5 to 6 seasons did not have. So, if you're looking to get out of a funk, they have the horses to get out of the funk. Do they have depth in certain areas that we'd like them to have depth? No. Bullpen, namely, being one of those areas.
Bullpen would be one of those areas.
And certainly the defensive effort this year has not been nearly as consistent, and we've been told for a few years now that that's going to come around. But last I checked, it was.
Are you saying you doubt that?
Yeah, in the high 20s of unearned runs for the year. I mean, come on now, let's go.
Well, you had 11 of them. You had 11 of them in 2 games.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about unearned runs though. It's just like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know it's college baseball, but I'd like to think that at some point we're going to be able to pick up the baseball here in Tallahassee. And the talk preseason, now that Mendoza's back maybe and Walls is in line, maybe things will be okay. But the talk was this is going to be one of the better infields defensively that we've seen in Tallahassee in a long, long time. Well, that sure would be nice, too, over the next few weeks.
The quote from Martin after the game that I cited is perhaps a sign that, they're shaking hands and are united is, quote, about Taylor Walls, he had some good at-bats. He's still got some things to work on. We all do. I like it. And listen, I'm not even
got any problems at home?
You got debt. I'm not even being facetious. I really think that says something. I think it's not flippant. I don't think it's the classic. We're all day to day. No, I mean I think seriously. He's saying, look, okay, we've acknowledged this happened. Obviously, he was suspended for a reason. We've moved on. And I'm working on things. We're all working on things here to get better. We got to start winning some games. Because he does go on to say after that, with where we're at in the schedule now, we're going to have to bear down. We have to keep plugging away. We got to win baseball games. So that's exactly right. It remedies everything.
I hope I'm not breaking a trust between you and I here in this moment.
Oh, yeah.
But there have been a couple of times this season where the team is slumped. And then we get back and we get a nice win or two, midweek or whatever. We say, all right, looks like everything's going to be okay. Then we hit the weekend, and I'll get a text from you on Saturday around 4 or 5 o'clock, and you say something to the effect of, I don't know what's exactly going on right now. This is a little bit different,
Right.
And so with that in mind, do you think that 1 month from now, we're all happy, or the voices of dissent are growing louder and louder because the performance rings inconsistent and not up to standard? Just from a gut feeling standpoint, do you think they're going to be better or not?
Yes, I think they'll be better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'll be
good
better.
enough better or just,
I don't know. I think that they'll be a lot better than they are now. I don't know if they're good enough because they may have done enough damage now to where they get sent down to Gainesville either way. And until they can get out from under the cloud of doubt they now reside under, for whatever reason against Florida, that reason happens to be Florida's outstanding pitching, which was beaten silly by Stetson last night before Florida came out and refused to play the rest of the game. Everybody else, not everybody else, that's not true. There are plenty of examples of other teams with less talent than Florida State that hit Florida. So right now, we've got some things going on between the years, and if you get sent down there, you're not going to Omaha. It doesn't feel that way anyhow. But I do think they'll be a lot better if they remain healthy, and that's the whole thing. I think as Mendoza gets some at-bats and starts to feel more comfortable, I know he had another hit today, that's a good sign. Okay, so if we get some things working with him now and he gets into that lineup day to day, every day, we have the group that we expected to have. I just don't know how they won't start hitting. There are too many signs that those guys, a lot of the players that have struggled, are guys that showed you already that they can hit. So, and Taylor Walls is one of them. They can't be that bad all year long, right? I mean, you wouldn't. I know you're playing good teams, but Florida State's got good players.
Yeah, if you're looking at some of the key numbers for the rotation too, they've been uneven outside of Holton, but the numbers, the strikeouts per 9, the whip numbers,
they've got enough starting pitching.
It's not as bad as you think.
No. They've got. I said it yesterday's program. I said, listen, I understand that we're all concerned about the bullpen, and in the regular season, it's a very real concern. You don't have a lot of guys, especially when you're playing these midweek games. But I'm telling you, as that shortens, as you play fewer games and you play just weekends, and then you get into the postseason where you're not having to deal with all that stuff, you've got now basically your Tuesday starter becomes your long reliever, and you're all right. You've got enough quality arms, I should say, to be good. And that's why really what I'm looking at is picking up the baseball. I don't need them to sing Kumbaya in that clubhouse, but I need them not to hate each other. I'd like them to get, to where they can function and get along and move forward together. And then can this offense, and I find that odd. I've never really questioned the offense all that much. They got to start hitting.
Okay, 29 unearned runs through 30 games. That's the number I was looking at.
That hurts.
For the next 30, that's got to be down around 15, 20.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, pick up the damn ball. Martin himself talked about that. I mean, that's humiliating. For a guy who forever in a day preached pitching and defense, watch them kicking it all over the damn lot? No, man, that can't happen. So I do think they'll be better. Look, there's a large segment of the fan base that are not going to be happy, short of a championship, short of a College World Series championship. So will it be enough? Not for that group. That won't happen. But right now, this isn't enough, even for the people who are in support of Martin. This is not good. This has to get a lot better. I'm with those people too. I'm saying, hey, no. What are we doing here? But I really do think, even though we're not good right now, we're not. There's no getting around that. You can't sugarcoat it. We're not good right now. Doesn't mean they can't be good. I'm holding out hope for the latter, that they can be good. Trey Jones, he's the head coach at Florida State University when it comes to golf. He's got some guys in this year's Masters, including Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger. He was there alongside Jonas Blix when Blix finished second up there. We all love the Masters here, and we're going to talk to him about what that experience was like and what to look for with this year's Masters, where weather is a bit of a problem. He'll join us next on The Jeff Cameron Show.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
7 Coastal Highway, Crawfordville, 925-6412, or visit them online at tnthideaway.com.
It's the Hyundai Spring Cleaning Sales Event. The best way to buy is the Werner way. We monitor our competition's website, TV, and radio ads to make sure you get the best price. We shop North Florida and South Georgia so you don't have to. Drive a great-looking 2017 Hyundai Elantra for $169 per month for 36 months with $19.99 due at lease signing. You get Hyundai Assurance with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Why shop anywhere else? WernerHyundai.com. Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 5th.
Out on the golf course, there are the obvious hazards. There's the pond, the bunker, the rough, the even rougher.
Yeah, put me down for an 8.
The giant maples, the row of houses out of bounds on the right, the angry flock of geese who've surrounded your ball, even the occasional groundskeeper you had no clue was there. But if you think you found every possible hazard out there, think again. The hazard you missed could actually be a killer. It's the spot on your skin, the one that could be skin cancer. Fact is, if you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills 1 person every hour. 1 in 5 Americans is likely to develop a form of skin cancer during their lifetime. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. It could be the save of a lifetime. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Are you ready to experience an awesome fishing expedition? Sea Quarters Marina is home to several great charter services. All charters are customized based upon the types of fishing opportunities available and the type of fishing the customer requests. The Northwest Gulf Coast offers a variety of different angling adventures thanks to unspoiled back county islands and crystal clear flats. For more information regarding charters, call Sea Quarters Marina at 697-8400 or online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket as much as a buzzer-beating shot. Every Thursday night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, it's Beer Bingo Thursday. Enjoy $2.25 domestic pints, $3.25 domestic Big Daddies, and $6.75 domestic pitchers as you play Beer Bingo for signature Corner Pocket prizes. And if you're feeling the heat, Fireball shots are just $3.25 all night. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Appalachie Parkway next to Earth Fair. He's gone! Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Now we're going to bring in Trey Jones, head golf coach at Florida State University, and ask him all about stuff to do with the Masters. And as we do that, I'm getting more and more concerned as we look at these the weather outlook. Coach, first of all, good to be with you. Glad to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, by the way, folks, if you're not listening to the show that Trey and I do together on satellite radio, it's on tonight at 9 o'clock. It's called Beyond the Tips, XM 92, Series 208, and he's the star of the show. I just kind of shut up and let him talk. It's fun, isn't it, Coach?
Man, I love it, and you're downplaying yourself as usual. You carry me through, and it is a lot of fun to get to talk to a lot of different people about college golf, pro golf, and boy, there couldn't be a better week than this week.
Except seriously, I want to ask you right out the gates. First of all, you can give us all kinds of nuggets here because you've walked that course and been with your guys and done all that stuff. But the weather right now seems to be the story. They've stopped play at Augusta National now. They didn't finish the par 3. And the temperatures coupled with the wind, what do you if we start seeing winds of over 20, 25 miles per hour and the
guys are out there trying to set up the golf course, so they won't be double cutting it. They won't be doing some of the things. They're going to try to keep it under control. So you may see some new hole locations we've never seen before as well.
I was just about to ask you about where to place the pins. If the weather is going to add to the difficulty of the course and all of those things, I mean, so much talk over the years has always been about how fun the pins are on a Sunday on the back nine and all of that. But what do you do to help the guys out if they're dealing with terribly inclement weather?
Well, you're still going to get those Sunday pins, and they won't ever use those today. I wouldn't think, but there are some high spots, low spots. Once they measure those greens and see the degree of slope on them, and you generally don't want to pin on anything under a 1.5 degree to 2. That's on a normal stem. So if they're really fast, they're going to have to find some pretty flat spots for them, or the ball's just going to start rolling. They're pros at it. I did just call Jeff Hall from USGA. He's part of the setup. Ironically, he was busy. He didn't take my call. So that was a question I was going to ask him. But, with this wind coming, I mean, I'm just looking at it. Hole 4 is a par 3, and they're going to play that up tomorrow because if you have 25 miles an hour blowing straight at you and that hole's 250, that's going to be carnage. That's just going to be an unbelievable spectacle there.
If that holds, do you think, by the way, there will be a stoppage of the Masters?
I just think the second, if it's blowing 20 to 25 and balls start getting moving around, they're going to pull them off. Absolutely. They're not going to. I mean, if you can imagine, just for an example, if a ball's on the top part of 10, and if it blows off that green, then it's going to blow down the hill, and you're going to have 50 yards in the green. So after you've already hit the green, they're not going to allow that kind of stuff to happen out there, and they're not going to make the players look bad. But it's a smaller field. That's a good thing. So they can back it up a little bit and still get it in. But I can tell you, when you're out there, those guys that are going out early, they're going to need to hold on because they won't. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's going to be too good of conditions at all.
So in that way, there's a sense or a feel that you get, like with the British Open. I always feel like weather plays such a key component to who wins this thing. Like, are you lucky enough to go out when it's not, abhorrent, the weather, and there's nothing you can do about that, but it always frustrates me.
It does, and the Masters doesn't do a true early wave, late wave. They all go off one, and they move them around a little bit. No one would have 2 early ones or 2 late ones.
Okay.
So they mix it up, but it's not as defined as some of the other events, that's for sure.
We're talking with Trey Jones. He's the head golf coach at Florida State University. You got 2 guys in here, right? It's Brooks and Daniel are going in this one. And I want to ask you, well, first of all, and just talking to those guys and knowing those guys, having coached those guys and knowing their mindsets and been there with them, what do you think's going through their head today? And talk about the differences between the 2 players.
Well, both of them are really tough players, and I think people throw that around a lot. But of the players I've coached, when things get going bad, they're really good. And I can give you examples, but I won't. But they're phenomenal. They don't make excuses. When a challenge comes to them, they look for a way to fix it and what they can do as good as they can. So a lot of people say they want it to be tough because it eliminates half the field. They're truly those guys. They kind of like to get out there and get mudded up a little bit and see how high the scores could get. That's fine with them, I assure you.
What have you learned from having your guys at the Masters? I'm not talking about just those two, but I remember talking. You and I were talking the other day. I interviewed you one of the first times ever on my show. I think it might have been the first time when Drew Kittleson went, and that was the coolest thing to see an amateur out there. What have you learned being with those guys about the course and about playing this prestigious tournament?
Well, the golf course it doesn't let up. And there's some times when Jonas Blix came in second, and I'm walking with him, and he hits it right on 11, and he thinks the perfect shot is to hit it down right in front of the green to the right side. And once it gets over the top of those hills, it just goes straight in the water. Those are the things that the guys that aren't getting out there and get to play it enough right now because of the weather this week, it's going to kick them tomorrow a little bit. So local knowledge is going to be key, even though it looks like it's right out in front of you. So their experience is a huge factor. The other thing, Jeff, and they say it on our show a lot when we've talked to them, it might actually be a blessing in disguise for some of them, but how grueling and long and tiring this week is. So if you have perfect weather, they're going to want to go out there and play on Monday, play Tuesday, play the par 3 on Wednesday. By Sunday comes, they don't have anything in the tank. So the ones that can conserve energy and know what to do and know how to, they're going to have a huge advantage.
Coach, we always hear it, but tell me, I know a lot of our listeners have been to this event. I have not, and I've certainly never played it. What is it that drastically different in terms of the elevations, the undulation, the hills? Because player after player and in the history of this course, it always gets mentioned that it is more taxing physically than most of the other events.
Well, it's a hard walk, and it's really elevating. I would tell you, and I think I'm going to have this answer by tonight. But from the 11th fairway to the 11th green is about a 12 to 15 yard different shot. So if you've got 190, you need to play a 175 shot. So there's that much drop to get down there, get down there to 12. So same with going up on 18. I mean, that's why you see guys hitting 5-iron from 180, and you go, wow, I hit 5-iron from 180. Man, they're hitting straight up the hill there on that. And the ninth hole is a dogleg left. Well, if you don't get it down to the bottom, your ball is way below your feet, and you're kind of hitting back uphill, which you don't do that much. So all of that thrown into, it's about where you leave the ball. That's the whole thing. It's the elevation changes, and you just need to leave the ball in certain spots. You're better off missing the green in the right spot than hitting it 15 feet in the wrong.
Coach, these
guys...
And
with 25 miles...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
With a 25-mile-an-hour wind, that's going to be really hard to do.
So this will be brutal. And you think... I imagine, just given what you've told me so far, that is perfect for our guys. If we're looking at it from a Florida State standpoint, and we're talking about Brooks Koepka and we're talking about Daniel Berger, that's what you want it to be, as extremely difficult as possible, right?
If you're going to let me dial up the weather for their best chance to win, I would say that for Brooks, I'd want it cold, windy, and rainy. And for Daniel, I would just want it to blow as hard as it could possibly blow. Just Daniel controls his ball flight so well. He can hit a 7-iron at one launch angle one time, then turn right around and change it completely. He has just phenomenal hands.
It's interesting. We had Daniel Berger on Beyond the Tips, and one thing stood out when I was reading this morning. I was reading about an article about the yardage books, and it was called "Playing the Book," and it talked about how Augusta National gives these yardage books out, and they were really kind of the last to do it, and they do so grudgingly, and they don't give you much information compared to some of the other tour stops, and caddies have extra work to do this week. But do I remember right? Did Daniel say he doesn't even want a yardage book?
Well, Daniel doesn't personally. His caddy surely does. So, Daniel trusts his caddy enough that he'll turn around and say, okay, what do I have? What do I need to hit?
Right.
Going from there. So the caddy's the one that gets the information. Daniel doesn't really do that. He's grown up in an age where the rangefinders have always been, that's going to be the next, that's the wave of golfers that I struggle with right now with my own team, I can tell you.
Yes, because what is it you want Why is it you want them to use that instead of a rangefinder?
Well, because the yardage actually to the flagstick is irrelevant, especially when you're playing a place like Augusta. It's all about land number. And so you need a yardage to the front of the green, a yardage to carry a ridge or a bunker, a yardage to the pin, and a yardage to the back ridge or back fringe. You say, oh, my gosh, how can anybody do that? Well, you have to start there. You start there with those numbers, break it down, and go, I've got 165 back, 140 front, pin is 160. So now you know over the bunker is 155. You have 155, 165. You only have 10 yards to hit this ball. Now you've got your club. Okay, so sometimes, like I said, the caddy will break that down and just look at them and go, I want a 170 shot, wind and everything, driving range. Hit it like you do on driving range. Or they may say 170 shot, you control it, keep this ball down. So that's where that relationship is huge, and the experience factor. But I'm not sure Phil or anybody is going to see this place like they're going to see it tomorrow morning.
When you walked it with your guys and you've been there in the moment in competition, can you feel the weight of this tradition and the expectations of a player who desperately wants to play well at this particular event more than almost any other?
Jeff, you can feel the tradition when you get to Augusta, when you get to the city, and you just see all the stuff going on around it, the signs and whatever else, and billboards, and then you finally get in the event, and the first thing you walk out onto is the first tee, and it's everything. You're kind of up on a hill, and everything is out in front of you, and it hits you immediately. Yeah, anyone that says this is another tournament or whatever, they're just trying to play a mental game with themselves. But the tradition there is amazing. It's our only major that we continue to go to the same site every time. And that's what's cool about it, is that's what creates the tradition of this is where, so-and-so happened, or this is where Larry Mize chipped in, or, the Saracen Bridge, whatever it may be. That's what's cool about it.
Did you get nervous when Jonas was playing so well?
I get nervous all the time, when they're out there. I do.
I just wondered in that specific moment, the year he finished second, like you're saying, I mean, did you get nervous? Do you start thinking, holy hell, this could happen, or there's a possibility?
So you go out there early in the week, and obviously your goal is just to get off to a good start. And when he shoots 33 on the front nine, you go, wow, that'd be cool. Now let's put another one together, and we got a great start. And he shoots 2 under and shoots 67. I'm like, wow, that's great. And we're back to the place with him, and kind of like the field goal kicker you and I talk about. You don't want to say anything. No. He's out, and he doesn't want to talk golf. So the next day he goes out and plays okay. I go, okay, we made the cut now. So we got that behind us. We got a free day ahead. Plays another good round, and then it starts to creep in your head. Wait a minute. There's a chance he can win this golf tournament. And he actually had a chance standing in the 15th fairway. He went at it in 2. And if he makes eagle there, he's right there. And we're going, wow. That's when it hit me that he's put himself in the position. Now's the time, and he's got a chance to win the golf tournament. So that was what I can remember.
I just thought about. I can't imagine, Coach, what goes through a player's head who probably goes into a tournament not necessarily expecting to win the Masters, right?
Well, I think it's more like I said, a player like that was his first time that he was trying to put himself in a position, or trying to give himself the opportunity. That was his deal. And once he did that, then I think it was okay. I'm playing good, and if you're playing good, some of those things leave your mind. I mean, if you're playing that good, it's like, man, I'm going to hit this shot. I know I can hit this shot, and they break it down that easy to things they can do. So the confidence level is so high at that point in time, then they don't get in their way too much.
What were you thinking as he was about to hit his second shot on 15, and what was your heart rate like?
It was up there. I mean, I can tell you, obviously my wife wasn't helping in that deal at all. She's tugging on my shirt, but that was and he didn't hit a very good shot, but it was one that you're saying, okay, here we go. This is, and you just admired him for going for the green in 2 and saying, okay, I'm going to take this on. I know I've got it, and I'm playing to win at this point. So that was like I said, that was a cool thing to be a part of, and then he played well again the next year.
Coach, always appreciate it. I'll talk to you tonight and again about stuff like this real soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Take care. Trey Jones, the head golf coach at Florida State, who's done a spectacular job there and has two players that, you wouldn't say are the favorites, but you wouldn't count them out as possible candidates to be there on a Sunday with an opportunity to win either. I mean, Brooks Koepka has talked about his year. We had him on the night show there that I was talking about, Beyond the Tips, a couple weeks back, Tom, and he said, well, I haven't played all that well so far this year, but I haven't been worried about it because it's all about getting ready for the Masters. And so because I asked him about his, performance in Phoenix and a couple of other events, he was frustrated with the way he was playing, but he was talking about fine-tuning his swing for Augusta. Daniel is much more of a sort of see it, grip it, rip it, go. I brought up the Yards Book thing. We had him on last week, and he was saying, well, I just trust my caddy. He tells me the shot, and I go from there. Now, he's also a guy that is supremely confident. You can read into that if you want. He won't talk to his caddy much because he already knows what he wants, because he manages a golf course in his head very well. It's only now and again that he's a little unsure, and he'll say, what do we got here? And to get his advice.
Well, you see it all the time. There are certain types of players that they peak before you get to even California on the schedule. They go make some hay in Hawaii, and then they come to the mainland. And
good way to keep your card. If you win
Sure.
one time on the West Coast, you're in.
Well, I mean, and he brought it back to the contiguous 48, Justin Thomas this year. He started out like gangbusters, and then he comes back, he plays well.
Yeah.
But there's that guy every year, and then there are the guys that think about the majors, and then there are the players who think about the majors plus the World Golf Championships and the players. But you can tell, as they get older, it seems that it follows a pattern. As players get older, into their primes, and the back end of their primes.
During tournaments, crazy.
Exactly, because they made enough money. They've already won enough. Even if it's 2 or 3 events, they know that they can win, but it's time to go chase immortality in the sport.
I used to think about Tiger Woods routinely telling people that, while winning a lot of golf tournaments along the way, that's how good he was. There were times where he was working on things to be right by the time they got to Augusta, and he would, along the way, win a tournament while working on something. That's nuts to me. That's just that otherworldly talent we talk about.
It's interesting. I figured Trey would say what he said about Brooks and his chances given the weather for the first 2 days. And we should point out, too, that this is about the first 2 days. Saturday and Sunday, the weather's supposed to be pristine. Mid to upper 70s, no wind whatsoever, basically no chance of rain. But it's about those 2 days to even make it and stay in the conversation. I figured he'd say that about Brooks because Brooks went out to Europe and he played on the Euro Tour before he came back to the States and now is a top 25 player in the world. But he had to go make his bones in situations like he's going to face on Thursday and Friday.
Which means maybe one day we'll see him hoist the trophy in St. Andrews or something. Or at
That'd be really
Andrews.
cool.
I mean, he's dealt with all of that. But, yeah, I'll tell you what, learning from from Trey Jones, about those guys and other guys that he's coached and brought along that are on tour or fighting to make the tour. You learn a lot about guys' mentalities. You learn a lot about guys' preparation. You learn a lot about how certain courses, and, over the years we've had the opportunity, of course, to talk to Kenny Knox. And he would always tell me, well, listen, there's a reason that Tiger Woods wins certain places. He's got courses that he dominates, and there are places like this one that don't suit everybody's eye, and they play the tournament because it's as prestigious as there is on the tour, but they're really not likely to ever get in a position to win it. And then there are other guys, and everybody knows who they are entering this week that, he's a candidate to win this tournament. And sometimes they're not who you think. Sometimes they're guys that you would never project, but the course is suited for their swing, their ball flight, whatever it might be.
Sure, and they might be players that are top 20 machines in the tournament, but since they're not on the first page of the leaderboard every single year, you don't think of them. But it's still their course. It's just that the upper end of their game isn't necessarily championship-level golf.
Right.
What I think is interesting is that there might be a reverse effect than we expect. If they have to find flat areas of the greens, as in, what Trey was talking about, pin positions that we have not seen before, that we're not accustomed to seeing, even on a Thursday or a Friday. Okay. If they have to put it in that area of the green, and they're going to have to slow the greens down more than the rain is going to do today in Augusta, you might see some lower numbers than you might expect on Thursday and Friday because,
They can go right at it.
They can go right at it. And if they miss the green, as long as Trey says it's better to miss the green than to make the green on the wrong portion of the green, well, then if it's a flat area, then the approach shot, your short game, it's an easier shot than it would be to make sure that it stays on the tabletop of your nightstand with a tile surface, which is what Augusta can be like with certain pin positions. You have a 6 square foot area that you need to drop the ball and stop the ball in if you want to have a putt from 4 or 5 feet. But if they have it in the flat areas, I'll be interested to see how easy some of the putts are going to be tomorrow and how slow the greens, relatively speaking, are going to be as well.
Really cool storylines throughout this, and we're fortunate that on a Sunday we get this all come together, the culmination of these storylines. You know, Dustin Johnson, number one player in the world, off to a tremendous start. He's won the tournaments he's entered, and he is a guy that, you know, obviously would like to get his first Masters victory. Rory McIlroy needs it to complete the career slam. Rory doesn't strike me as a character who's terribly interested in playing golf very long. If he could get it, who knows how much longer Rory McIlroy plays golf. It's amazing. Jordan Spieth, after last year's, not collapse, but obviously a dubious moment or two on number 10 and
12.
12. Yep.
12 is pretty close to collapsing.
It was remarkable, right? The hairpiece and the whole thing, that was remarkable. I'd never heard a player of that caliber make that sound hitting. Remember that?
Man, I'll tell you, this will always be my story because it's where were you when this happened. My roommate and I were watching this, and he fell asleep because Spieth is up 5 at the time.
It's over.
Right, and he wakes up, and Willett's leading, and he goes, "What the hell happened?" I said, "Well, you missed it. I'm sorry. You missed everything.
You got to stay awake."
No, you're gonna have to find what happens on 12 because I could have woken him up, but I said, you know what?
You deserve to miss it.
If you're gonna sleep on Spieth on 12, well, you're gonna sleep on Spieth on 12.
But you got Jason Day's story. His mother doesn't need chemo. He's going to go ahead and play. Last we were told, anyhow. So we'll see. Obviously, Phil winding down his career would love one last moment, obviously, and he could get it.
Now, here's an interesting deal. You watched the Faraday piece with Phil, the two-parter, as I did, and he talked about how he learned eventually, after being stubborn for basically a decade, of how to play
the
overseas.
British. Yeah.
Yes, he had to keep the ball low. Could that lesson,
help
combined with his knowledge and love and affinity and ability to play Augusta National, actually combine to make him an unstoppable force? Because he is playing really well coming into the event. That's not always the case with Phil.
Yeah, but he always seems to elevate his game, whether he's playing well or not, once he gets in this event.
Yes.
And the fact that he's playing well does give you hope, if you're a Phil guy, that he could make one more magical run. Problem is, at his age, and traditionally speaking, one of the problems he's had, especially within 5 feet, are the yips.
His whole career. If he hit
20%
more putts from inside 5 feet in his career, how many more majors would he have?
Well, he would have a
3
couple
or
U.S.
4?
Opens, that's
Yes.
for sure. And then you've got the story of John Rahm, an unshakable, confident 22-year-old man who believes he's going to be the number one player in the world, and whom Phil Mickelson said will be the number one player in the world. And he preys upon him. Ricky Fowler still looking for his first major. Think of the storylines that we're going through here, one after the other, and all of these guys could be guys on Sunday, likely to be on Sunday, somewhere near the top.
Well, I think you're like me, and we play in our own little pool for the Masters where you draft 12 players for all 4 majors, and you start 8. But basically, you're drafting 12 of the guys you think are best for these 4 majors at these 4 courses this year. But still, even after drafting 12 guys, there are 4 or 5 other names where you go, I sure wish I could have him to find a way to get that guy on my team.
Well, horses for courses,
like,
too.
for example, I don't have Adam Scott in my 12 this year.
I don't either.
Really?
I
didn't know that.
No,
okay.
and I'm an Adam Scott guy, but
I don't have
him
Matt
either.
Kuchar. I don't have Ricky Fowler.
I've got Kuchar, and I have Fowler. Fowler, I was reluctant, but with Kuchar, he's a top 20 machine. He makes every cut. He's always
sure.
So you're just getting
I
points.
don't have Louis Oosthuizen. Like, wouldn't it?
I don't have Louis. I don't get time for Louis.
Man, well, you could play him for one or two
No,
majors.
he's really good.
That's what I'm saying.
I got no time for Louis.
It wouldn't surprise you if he finished T3.
Oh, of course, no. And listen, we both have Hideki Matsuyama, who perhaps nobody's hit it better than him besides Dustin this year. I mean, there was a stretch of however many holes in a row where he was where he didn't bogey. It's insane.
No, the stars of the tour so far this year are Dustin and far and away, given what he's done at the events he's done in the fields. Then it's John Rahm, or probably Matsuyama second.
And Rahm.
Then Rahm, then Justin Thomas. And then the other guys, the usual suspects, are playing well in spurts, but those are the 4 big names.
And the final story in the final part of this segment is that he was playing very well early. We'll see if he's taken a step back. He had a disappointing tournament, but Sergio Garcia started the year exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And he was hitting the golf ball in terms of ball striking like it was 10 years ago. And, his whole story has always been if he could make a putt and if he doesn't collapse on a Sunday, which he's been wont to do in certain situations, but he's at a good place in his life now where he's not unhappy. He was always so unhappy and angry and frustrated and sad with terrible breakup and all that with Greg Norman's daughter. And I know a lot of people hate him, but you and I aren't one of them.
No.
We'd like to see that guy on a Sunday be in contention.
Sure. A horse for a course, though, typically not Augusta for Sergio.
No, I know.
But I did play him in my 12 this year, and the reason I did is because I think he sees Rahm, and he says, uh-oh, I better get it now.
Well, yeah.
I have to get it now.
Yeah, he's been
Or else my
surpassed.
countryman is going to take everything that I was and didn't cash in on, and he's going to make good on it by the age of 24.
Yeah, I think Rahm surpassed him already in terms of game.
Well, I mean, he smoked him at the match play.
Yeah, in game,
like
he's
6 and 5,
well,
something
yeah,
like
that wasn't very competitive, and you got a sense that Rahm kind of wanted to give him the old pass the torch there, kid. It's over. Yeah, well, John's like that. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNT Supercenter.
$6.99, and that includes a drink. Stop in at 2033 North Monroe Street. It's Tallahassee's favorite hangout, the Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill.
Commercial lawnmowers don't have odometers, but if they did, you might be surprised to see you could be mowing thousands of miles a year. That's why Gravely zero-turn mowers are built for the long haul. So when you're mowing the equivalent of Miami through Kentucky bluegrass country, all the way to Seattle, and back again every year, you can count on your Gravely zero-turn mower to get the job done, mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Zero money down and 0% interest with qualifying credit. Only at TNT Supercenter. Get your Gravely mower today.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. As most of you know, it's that time of year again. Tax refund time. What does that mean for all of us? It means that every single car dealer in town will be trying to shout the loudest for you to bring in your tax refund. Bring in your W-2s, and they will put you in a used car that is nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit, and at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
You know, we never talked about this, but he's not here now, so I'll bring it up to you. Is Tom kind of violating the man rule with all that sangria?
You know, if we were in Spain, it'd be a whole different situation.
All right, guys, how's it going? You ready to record?
Sure. Yeah,
sure.
No, well, I'm good. Did you you just turn those on?
Yeah, why?
No reason. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-419-2201. 800-419-2201. 800-419-2201. That's 800-419-2201. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details, not available in all states.
This Day in Sports brought to you by Superlube. Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary.
This day in sports history. April 5th, 1984. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar broke Wilt Chamberlain's record for total career regular season points. Kareem would score his 31,420th point by hitting one of his trademark skyhooks in a 129-115 victory over the Jazz during a game played in Las Vegas. Kareem would finish his career with 38,387 regular season points.
At Auto and Tire Super Service Center, their goal is to keep you safe. And right now, when you buy your tires from them, you'll receive free road hazard protection, free tire rotation for life, free interest for 6 months, and a free oil change. And right now, get a $70 Visa gift card with the purchase of a set of Michelin tires. So when you need tires, head on over to one of their 5 Auto and Tire Super Service Centers, locally owned and operated, and serving Tallahassee for nearly 40 years.
Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's hard to say it was a must-win this early in the season, but for the Florida State baseball team, last night certainly was a must-win. The 22nd-ranked Seminoles break a 4-game losing streak thanks to some late-inning dramatics. Florida State with a 7-6 win over Florida Gulf Coast. The same two teams will go at it again later today. Former Seminole Timmy Jernigan is on the move. The Baltimore Ravens have traded him and a 3rd-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for another pick. Russell Westbrook continues to make history. Last night, his NBA record-tying 41st triple-double of this season. And college football news, all the buzz around Brian Kelly and his comments yesterday that his former quarterback, DeShone Kizer, should have stayed in school and not entered the NFL draft.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
At my first occasion last night where just the consistency of baseball was greatly appreciated. It was my sister-in-law's kind of belated birthday party. Anyhow, you guys don't care about that. But we went out to eat, and
self-censorship there.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, I know if I was driving along, I'd be like, what the hell I care, Cameron?
So?
Yeah. But the point was this. We went out and met up with her and all that good stuff and had a good time. But I got home, and I'm watching Florida State, and then I'm also, and that was, as we talked about earlier, good to get a win. Good to get a win, especially in the way that it happened. It's kind of fun.
Against a team in the top 20.
That's a good team, yeah. So they finally beat a good team. Anyhow, the point is, I'm excited about that, and then I'm winding down, and I'm going to call it an early night, Tom. We have an early morning workout. We got things we got to do today, so I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to be good. We had a big time on Monday over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, and so I'm just going to lay easy this week.
Sure.
So I go back to the room, and I go, oh, but there are games to choose from here. I can just kind of mosey on off to sleep with the sounds of baseball. And in doing so, I watched Cubs. My Pirates went on. So I watched Cubs Cards, and I saw Wainwright spike a pitch. I've never seen this before. Not without a guy falling or getting a spike stuck, He spiked a pitch 10 feet from him. 25 feet away from Molina. Found out afterwards he did it intentionally. He said that Molina shifted as if he was expecting Wainwright to throw a curveball. Now, there are runners on, by the way, at this moment, so that spike pitch leads to everybody advancing. But anyhow, he said Molina shifted at the last second, in his view, expecting a curveball, and he had a fastball grip. They had a mix-up in their signals. And he said where I was throwing the ball and where he was setting up, he could get hurt. It was going to ride up onto his collarbone. And Wainwright had the presence of mind to say, I'd rather throw this ball on the ground and risk that these guys will advance because I've got the pitcher up. I can get him out. than to throw a fastball when he's expecting curveball and we lose Yachty for however long due to injury. I didn't think that was something that pitchers did. I mean, you learn something. I saw something in baseball last night for the first time ever, a pitcher, and this is one of the things Tim Kirchin always does. He brings up that he loves baseball because of the fact that every night you see something you haven't seen before, or every week you see something you haven't seen before in baseball. This was that. A pitcher intentionally choosing to spike a ball and look like a fool because he's worried that he's going to hurt his catcher because they've crossed their signals. Molina, for his part, made me laugh. They come out to have a conversation afterwards. They asked him what he said. And he said, "Next time throw me the ball, I'll catch it. I'm pretty good." That's a great line. I mean,
that sounds like
accurate.
a catcher, too.
Yeah.
Not just Molina. That's the way catchers are.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the way you want your catcher to be. Like, hey, we cross signals and all that. I'll adjust.
I watched freaking Mike Pelfrey fall off the mound the first game at Citi Field. Balked.
Just
he
fall
held
off
on to
the
the ball.
mound.
He held on to the ball, and he just kind of held on to it in the follow-through, and he just fell off the mound.
So he must have – I bet it was the same thing, though.
I guess.
Maybe,
I don't know. It
is that
happened
a
a couple
thing?
times.
Well, maybe he's just not very good.
I've got my suspicions.
Oh, man. Let's cue it up, buddy. It's time for probables.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Yes, sir. Marlins, Nats, Dan Straley, Tanner Rourke. Blue Jays, Orioles, J.A. Happ, and Dylan Bundy. Dylan Bundy looks like a guy named Dylan Bundy. Atlanta Braves, New York Mets. Odd to say it. Fatty Fat, the 43-year-old Bartolo Colon.
Who will be
Against your
trading
Mets.
for, in August because everybody's hurt.
3.92 over the last 3 years with the Mets. He was a solid starter for you.
Well, he's perfect, too, because he would break up the fireballing arms, and he was the soft-tossing, chunky fella.
Did you know that he allowed 2 runs or less over 9 of his final 12 starts with the Mets?
Yeah, he was a horse.
Steroids are an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they work. Jacob deGrom goes tonight for the Mets. Jacob deGrom sounds like I take it to beer. Yankees, Rays, Michael Pineda, Alex Cobb. Phillies, Reds. Eichhoff's going for the Phils. Finnegan for the Reds. A man, Jameson Taillon, pitches tonight for the Pirates. Chris Sale, newly acquired Chris Sale, goes for the Boston Red Sox. By the way, it's his debut at Fenway. He's 1-1 with a 4.12 at Fenway. Cleveland and the Rangers, Danny Salazar, Cole Hamels. Rockies, Brewers, Tyler Chatwood, and Wiley Peralta. Mariners, Astros, James Paxton, Charlie Morton. Thank God Charlie Morton's in a different uniform. I feel like he was a Pirate for 35 years. Just steady being average.
James Paxton and Charlie Morton sounds like, the 2 starring roles in the old school sequel that went straight to DVD.
Yeah, nothing
Old
to see
school,
here.
too.
Yeah.
It's even crazier.
Giants, D-backs. Matt Moore, Tawan Walker. Still no Robbie Ray. Angels, A's, Garrett Richards, Jarrell Cotton. And because baseball is funny that way, I made fun of the Padres yesterday. They shut out the Dodgers and got a dominating performance from Clayton Richard, who
There you
I
go.
made fun of. How about that? Pods, Dodgers, Trevor Cahill, Rich Hill. I stand by what I said yesterday. The Padres are going to suck.
Oh, man, he felt disrespected that Chacin got the opening day start.
He's like, come on.
I am your ace.
Yeah. I'm Clayton Richard. And that's a look at those that shall reside on the bump. All right, stay safe tonight. Hopefully weather's not too bad. I have yet to go outside for the last 4 hours. I don't know what we're dealing with out there right now. Tom, good work out of you. Matthew, great work out of you. To all of those who called and or listened, we do appreciate it. Hey, the front row is up next. I think Jacob Pugh's going to be on the front row. Did I see the lineup sheet correctly?
And the ever-consistent Iron Man that is Tim Linnefeld. Yes.
That's right. Yep, fellow Pittsburgh Pirate fan. Smart guy. Linnefeld will join him on the
came out to
front
the
row.
corner pocket.
He did come out to the corner pocket. It was good to see him. He doesn't usually do that. Well, ever since he got his drinking under control, he just doesn't make as many appearances.
Right, yeah,
That's
well,
what it is.
University employee now.
Tim's like, what? Come on, man. Be good, everybody.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.